Government Chief Whip and Fine Gael Minister Hildegard Naughton says forming a stable government is the key priority.
We look at what's happening internationally, we're all very aware of it, and we need to protect this country through what are potentially external shocks coming down the track, and that's what the Taoiseach will be asking our new Fine Gael parliamentary party today. He'll be seeking a mandate from our TDs to get their perspectives in relation to how we move forward.
A delegation from Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Committee will travel to Dublin tomorrow to meet with Housing Department officials. It's off the back of a prior meeting around 6 weeks ago in which 19 key points were raised. Many councillors yesterday told a meeting of the Inisho Municipal District that a scheme for social homes must be top of the agenda for the delegation tomorrow. Chair of the committee, Councillor Martin McDermott, anticipates there will be positive news on that.
We'll be very hopeful that we're ready to get the green light in relation to the social homes as well, so that the local authority can start remediating social homes very early in the new year. But that's just one of a number of things that we will discuss and try and get alleviated for homeowners on Thursday when we meet them. But look, we'll be very hopeful that some of the issues that we're having at the minute will be resolved.
The Kreeslough Community Grant Scheme has opened. The initiative aims to enhance the memories of the victims of the October 2022 tragedy and benefit the communities affected by it. Emily Keegan has more.
3 strands of funding are available under the Kreeslough Community Grant Scheme. They are youth development and support activities, trauma support and commemorative activities. Voluntary community and social groups, as well as non-governmental and not-for-profit organisations, schools, sports clubs and groups operating in the areas where those impacted by the Kreeslough tragedy live, can apply. €165,406 in funding is available, with the minimum amount that can be applied for €500 and the maximum of €40,000. The closing date for applications is January 31st, 2025.
Weather now, any mist and fog will clear this morning and it will be dry for a time. However, it will become increasingly cloudy with rain and drizzle spreading later. Highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Did you know we all have a superpower? The power to make our family and friends feel loved at Christmas by sending them a handwritten card. Send magic with Christmas stamp booklets. You can buy them in-app, online and at your local post office. T's and C's apply.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
And a very good morning. It is the 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. Donal Kavanagh with you on the show until 12 noon today. You can make contact with us, of course. We've lots to get through, but as we always say, at the very centre of the show are your views, your perspectives and your take on the issues and stories of the day. You can text us or WhatsApp us on 086 60 25000. Call us on 07491 25000, 00353 7491 25000 if you're outside of the dialing area. Shannon taking your calls, Caroline taking your calls as well, of course, and producing as well. You can email comments at highlandradio.com. You can contact us via social media. We're at Highland Radio on X, we're Highland Hub on Facebook, and we're also, of course, broadcasting the show on screen on our Facebook pages and on our YouTube channel, Highland Radio Ireland, as well. So you can watch the show unfold before your eyes, see our guests on Zoom and in studio, and interact with the show that way as well. Looking at the papers this morning, obviously the front pages of the broadsheets very much looking at the prospects of government formation. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael backbenchers, the Irish Independent tell us, are pushing for a deal with independents ahead of crucial meetings of both parliamentary parties today. Fine Gael TDs are insisting that there will be a rotating Taoiseach. Fianna Fáil with 10 more seats, once more ministries, and that's going to be the horse trading that's going to characterise what happens now before January. Micheál Martin predicting it will be January before we get a government formed, but hopefully we will have a government by January. We shouldn't have that 3-4 month lag that we had the last time. Now, of course, obviously the last time negotiations were complicated by the fact that we had the COVID pandemic to deal with, and also the fact that they were looking at a full-blown coalition between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael for the first time, something that I said yesterday many of our parents would be absolutely flummoxed by and would never have dreamt in a million years would happen. But that template's been set now, the die's been cast in that regard, so it should be a little more straightforward this time. But you can be guaranteed the horse trading will go on into the wee small hours of the morning, and the speculation will continue constantly. And it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks. Inside of the Irish Independent, an interesting one, David Coleman, the parenting correspondent, why we need to kick our under-16s off social media. I'll be honest, I can't help but wonder, have we got to the point where the smartphone and social media is so ingrained in the lives of younger people now that would be the ultimate case of trying to put the genie back in the bottle? It's an interesting concept and an interesting article, I have no doubt, but David Coleman there in The Independent looking to get under-16s off social media. Very interesting story on the inside of The Independent. You always know it's Christmas when you hear the strains for the first time. It was Christmas Eve, babe. And then you know, that's it. It's Christmas. As soon as you've heard Fairy Tale, it's Christmas. But an interview inside The Independent this morning with Victoria Mary Clark, who is Shane MacGowan's widow. And she remembers their last festive season together and also says Shane wasn't fussed about Christmas and was very amused by how popular that Fairy Tale of New York actually became. That's on the inside of the Indo. Irish Times this morning, a picture of one of the Irish team on her knees in the Aviva Stadium, head in hands, buried into the grass after losing to Wales last night, not going to the Euros next year. But a great push and a great effort made by the Irish team there. The two Donegal-based players not on the pitch last night. Would it have made a difference? Who knows? I'll have to ask the sports team when I get talking to Oisin or Mark later on today. Proposed new Navan-Dublin rail line will cost up to €3 billion. Now, that's an interesting one because, I mean, a rail line between Navan and Dublin, $3 billion. Twin Towns bypass bridge over the Swilly, and I don't want to start this Dublin gets everything and we get nothing sort of chat again, but it's always interesting to see that so many stories you get like this where they're looking at a metro, they're looking at a rail line, they're looking at something and the cost is going to be absolutely astronomical. And yet, as we say in Donegal, and you get caught in traffic in Letterkenny so often these days. It's become, and I don't know what it is. Some people say it's some of these active travel schemes that they're working on at the moment. There's lots of roadworks. A lot of worry actually that, I mean, if you do things like take a lane away from the road between the Polestar roundabout and the Creamery roundabout, as they call it, past Ballyrain there, if you take out a lane, at that point, what's that going to do with traffic? I mean, remember what happened when they switched on the traffic lights at the Polestar, and immediately you started seeing traffic backing up right past the Kiltoy area where Unify used to be, right up past Educate Together, and then right up past the Zeus and where Optum used to be, and where TCS is, and is it the Vectra Belting? Is it the name of the I can't remember the name. Vective, I think it's Vective is the name. They're right up the Business Park Road there. The traffic started backing up, and can't help but worry if you take a lane out of the road there at Ballyrain opposite the Monterrigal Hotel. You take a road out there, you take a lane out there. I mean, what's that going to do with traffic? And we see rail lines in Dublin, €3 billion, and yet still no word on the bridge over the Swilly as part of that wider 10T programme. It's an interesting one. We'll be keeping an eye on it, no doubt. Irish Daily Mail this morning. And again, government formation talks, obviously. This time, Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil are squabbling over equal billing as Taoiseach. One Fine Gael insider says if they feel so strongly about changing rotation, go to Sinn Féin. Fianna Fáil TDs are demanding party leader Micheál Martin be given at least 3 years as Taoiseach in any potential new arrangement. And that's the difference. The last time when they were having negotiations, they were almost equal on seats. Now Fianna Fáil is 10 seats ahead, and that is going to make a difference. Inside the Irish Daily Mail this morning, new Greg Wallace bombshell as MasterChef star is accused of inappropriate touching. Now that is something of a major escalation in the story, because up to now the claim has been that Greg Wallace made inappropriate comments, and it was one of those things where he and others will say it was only banter, it was only a joke, it was only banter. But if we're now moving into inappropriate touching, and let's be honest, I mean, in many cases, and let's not in any way minimise it, the idea that banter is absolutely no problem, you can say what you like, and no, you can't say what you like in certain settings, particularly in a work setting and in a professional setting. And you can't treat your workplace and your work colleagues in the same way that you treat people with whom you're having a pint in a pub. I mean, that's not the way it is. But and really, you shouldn't be treating people you're having a pint with in a pub either if the comments you're making are in any way denigrating or seeking to put people down or making inappropriate comments that make them uncomfortable. However, if we're now moving into claims of groping and inappropriate touching, this is going into a whole new place. And I'm not sure Greg Wallace did himself any favours at all with his social media posts at the weekend. The main stories on the tabloids this morning, the red tops all have the same front page story. Malika murder arrest, man held over stabbing of 8-year-old Malika Noor Al-Khalib was stabbed to death in a row when she tried to intervene to protect her mother in what it's now being suggested was a row over a phone. And that's such a horrendous story indeed. And Malika being buried today at Ballybeg Cemetery in Waterford. Also Irish Sun, Wallace thrust at me on MasterChef and BBC covered it up. That is a claim from one person, and much more on that. And as I said, this Greg Wallace story, it is growing legs, and I don't think he did any favours to himself whatsoever. So brave, the headline on the Daily Mirror this morning. Tragic stab death girl, mum to leave hospital to bury daughter who tried to protect her. Looking at the inside of the Mirror this morning, Maura's in a spin over film debut. Maura Higgins has admitted that acting is nerve-wracking, as the first film she ever featured in has won a coveted award. While the Love Island star is more than comfortable participating in reality shows and presenting TV, she said acting is a different ballgame. The Longford model featured in a music-themed comedy called The Spin, which has just won the Best Irish Feature Film Award at the Dublin International Comedy Festival. Also interesting story on the inside, and we were having a discussion yesterday with Dr. Maria Hainsworth. Story here: make domestic abuse and sex crimes a Garda priority. Top cop Harris vows to listen and take on public views. And that's part of the Garda satisfaction survey that we referenced yesterday on our community Garda slot as well with Grania. Sex offences and domestic abuse are the two issues that people want prioritised, as according to that survey that was carried out. At least 90 people said those issues should be the top focus for An Garda Síochána. Human trafficking, assaults, drug offences and illegal weapons also featured prominently in the findings of that survey. And certainly in light of the conversations we had yesterday with Dr. Maria Hainsworth and also some of the national and international stories we've been referencing, that certainly would appear to be no bad thing at all if that happens. Irishman faces jail in Dubai over text is one of the smaller stories on the front of the Irish Daily Star. An Irishman faces jail in Dubai accused of sending threatening emojis to a Belgian man while drunk. Stuart Quinney from Lara in County Wicklow is expected to go in front of a prosecutor. He's been told he could face years in jail after sending a ninja and blood emoji to a man. And we've heard so many stories over the past couple of years about people being jailed in Dubai. And I suppose there's a message there that says, look, you have to be so careful when you're in countries that you look at the laws, you look at the traditions, you look at the norms and the expectations, and something that might be laughed off here is not going to be laughed off there, and we need to be so careful when going abroad. And sadly, this gentleman is finding that out the hard way. Still Dáil up in the air. Martin's in no rush to end debate on rotating Taoiseach. Inside story of the Daily Star. Micheál Martin again. It's far too early and premature to state whether issues like the rotating Taoiseach arrangement with Fine Gael will remain in place or be changed. I don't propose to get into that, he said. It is far too early. And then the ongoing discussions. And believe you me, it is only starting. You can be absolutely guaranteed that we in the newsroom and the newspapers and the show and national and international media will have a field day over the next however many months just speculating over who is and who isn't going to be in power, and who is and who isn't going to be Taoiseach, and how long will they be Taoiseach, and how many ministers will they get, and how many ministries will the other get, and will it be independents, will it be Labour or the Social Democrats, and how many ministries will they get, and how many juniors will they get, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. Of that, you can be guaranteed. This is the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. We're here, as I say, until 12 noon. Please do get in touch with the programme, as we said. You can text us 086 60 20 5000. You can make contact with us via WhatsApp on that same number. Ring us on 074 91 25000 or 0035374 91 25000 if you're outside of the dialing area. And it's comments at highlandradio.com. Going to take a short break. Back after these.
Daily newspapers are courtesy of Cosgrove, Centra and Diner, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Thinking of getting a new car in 2025? Why not get one in 2026 as well? Buy a selected 251 Nissan and we'll replace it with a 261 Nissan for free. For details about this and all our 251 offers, contact your local Nissan dealer or visit nissan.ie. Nissan. Defy ordinary. Terms and conditions apply.
Throbbing headache, toothache, backache, period pain. No one pain is the same. But for all those everyday pains, there's a moment when you start to feel release. That moment when you start to get back to being you. And you feels amazing. Panadol Extra film-coated tablets. Powerful pain relief. Release starts here. Contains paracetamol. Always read the label, leaflet.
Some years ago, I was the victim of a serious crime. The person serving a life sentence for that crime now has an opportunity to apply for parole. But I also have an opportunity to have my voice heard by the parole board.
Victims of a serious crime. Your voice counts in the parole process. Find out more and register at gov.ie/parole board or call 01 474 8770.
Don't know if you know Alice and Pat. Late 40s, couple of kids, been together 17 years. Never married, of course, but that's not a problem. Until something happens. And suddenly words like unmarried, inheritance, and substantial tax bill enter the equation. You never need proper estate planning. Until you do. That's why the experienced team at McElhenney & Associates are here to help. Find us online or call 074 917 5989. McElhenney & Associates Solicitors, Stranola.
Highland Radio Time Checks brought to you by EirGrid, the operator and developer of Ireland's electricity grid. EirGrid, powering up communities, powering up Ireland. The time is
18 minutes past 9 o'clock. In just a few moments, we're going to discuss Alcohol-Related Harm Week, which is taking place at the ATU in Donegal this week. We'll be speaking to Paula Leonard. Paula coming up in just a moment. Before we do, I just want to remind you of our Secret Santa competition in association with Cadbury. Cadbury have 22,000 bars to give away this year to celebrate the return of their Secret Santa promotion. We have 2 huge hampers of chocolate to give away, plus a €50 voucher every day to be won. If you want to win that, all you have to do is tell us who you would want to surprise with a Secret Santa bar this year. Why do they deserve it? What good reason do you have to surprise someone with a Cadbury Secret Santa bar? Tell us about that person in your life who deserves a bar this year. You could win €50 today. Also go into a draw to win that Cadbury hamper for you and your Secret Santa. And if you want to participate, don't forget, by the way, there's also posters cropping up all over the country with QR codes that you can participate through as well. But you can do so here and just text in your nomination and why you're nominating them to 086 60 25000. That's 086 60 25000. Send us a text with the name of your nominee and why you're nominating that person to receive that Cadbury Secret Santa bar. Now, as I said, this is Alcohol Harm Related Week at the ATU in Letterkenny. Delighted to say we're joined on line one by no stranger to this programme, Paula Leonard, who is the CEO of Alcohol Forum Ireland. Paula, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
I'm very well indeed, thanks Paula. Paula, Alcohol Related Harm Week, it's an important initiative to hold with students in particular. But I can't help but think, you've got a difficult job on your hands to try and have that conversation in a college setting. Am I being unfair?
I think it's really important to understand that actually less of our student population are drinking than were, I suppose, in my day or even 10 years ago. But the concern in relation to sort of student population drinking is that while fewer students are drinking, and they're drinking on fewer occasions, among those that are drinking, they're drinking at very harmful levels. So we're seeing very high-risk drinking occasions. We're seeing, sort of alcohol-related injuries. We're seeing alcohol-related sexual assaults. And bear in mind that alcohol is not a cause of sexual assault, but it does facilitate it, and it does lead to sort of higher rates of harm within those incidents. So I think it's really important to see leadership from Students' Union, from the ATU, to run a range of events across this week, and they fall within a much bigger context. This is European Alcohol Awareness Week, run by Eurocare, which represents us across Europe and works with the Commission and the Health Commission and the European Union. And their focus this year is very much on having health labels introduced on alcoholic drinks, which we will see introduced in Ireland in 2026, making us the first country in the EU to do that. And I mean, the reason for that work at the European Commission is exactly the same reason that we run things, in Donegal, that we see things happening in the ATU, is that there is really little understanding, actually, of the real harm that's associated with alcohol consumption. And the breakthrough message, I suppose, that, our European colleagues are looking for this year is to help people to understand the link between alcohol and 7 types of cancer. In particular, I think it's worth noting, 1 in 8 breast cancers in this country are related to alcohol consumption. That's not something that we talk about a lot. It's not something that people are comfortable thinking about, because we've normalised alcohol use to such a degree that we're very resistant to thinking about, talking about, or accepting the health damage that it's doing to all of us. And there's no safe level of alcohol consumption, unfortunately.
And that is one of the difficulties of this conversation. It's an easier conversation to have in connection with something like smoking cigarettes, because you can make an absolutely definitive statement. Smoking cigarettes is bad. It should not be done under any circumstances. And if you do so, you're putting yourself under risk. And that's now widely accepted by society. With alcohol, it's different in as much as we're told you can absolutely enjoy a pint. You can absolutely enjoy a glass of wine. Now, then the debate becomes what constitutes drinking to excess, and you go down a whole level of debate there. But as you were saying there, there is no safe alcohol level, so you can't say as long as you don't drink any more than 8 glasses of wine a day, you'll be fine. But you can't make that statement, but neither can you say if you drink alcohol, you will put yourself at grave risk of being ill, because the risk associated with alcohol, I would suggest, is not as serious or as clear-cut as the risk associated with something like tobacco.
Oh, I'm going to have to disagree with you because it is 2012 since the International Agency on Cancer defined and identified alcohol as a Group 1 carcinogen. So Group 1 carcinogen basically means that alcohol is in exactly the same risk category for cancer as tobacco and as asbestos. The fact that we don't know that, and that we don't think that the evidence is clear-cut, is really hats off and congratulations to the confusion that has been peddled by the global alcohol industry, by your drink awares, by websites that promote sort of those messages that you've just sort of repeated, is that, a small amount of alcohol may be good for you or may not be health damaging. The World Health Organization is very clear now that unfortunately there is no known safe level of alcohol consumption. So you can reduce your risk significantly by, drinking at lower levels, but there's no risk. And that's very clear in the science. Where it's not clear is in sort of the public narrative. It's not clear in the media. It's not clear in our consciousness. And I suppose that's something that I feel privileged to know and to understand, and to know that that's the science. And I think it's really unfair to the public that we have very huge global profit-making corporations who want to confuse that evidence. But whether or not people take a drink at low levels or low risk levels, or how much people drink, is really not my concern. Allowing people to understand that every alcoholic beverage that we consume has a risk associated with it. That's the message, I suppose, from us, and that's the message across European Alcohol Awareness Week. And that's why we're talking about labels. That should be written on a bottle when somebody goes out and buys one, either in a non-license, in a restaurant or a bar, or it should be in an off-license. And that's all we're looking for. It's like having an ingredients label. People have a right to know.
Are you suggesting then that we should go down the same road that was gone down with cigarettes in terms of larger and larger labels? We've got to the point now where a packet of cigarettes is effectively one big, huge health warning, and maybe the brand might be written on it, but there is nothing else on that packet of cigarettes except a health warning at this point in time.
Yeah.
Should we be looking at doing the same thing on the label of a bottle of beer or a bottle of wine?
Oh, goodness. I think that would be extremely challenging to get over the line in terms of policy. I think there are very, large corporations that would oppose that. I think there's lots of reasons. I think people should be able to go in and choose and, look at labels and look at what types of wine that they like or don't like or want to purchase for themselves or for others. But I think it's really important that there is visible labelling that tells you, A, what's in your drink, and B, what potential health harms that might do for you. So we're going to see, health labelling in relation to the risk that alcohol poses during pregnancy. We're going to see labelling in relation to, content in your alcoholic drinks, and we're going to see labelling in relation to alcohol and cancer risk. And those will be rotated. And I suppose over the coming years, we will know then what impact that's had on consumption patterns within the population.
Are there specific cancers with which alcohol is associated and is a risk factor in terms of, and by that I'm saying, if you look at, say, tobacco use, again, you can say lung cancer, throat cancer, cancers of the thorax, and then illnesses of the respiratory system, COPD. There's a very clear line where you can say that the effect of tobacco smoke is X, Y, and Z, and that causes 1, 2, and 3. Are there equivalents in terms of identifying where the risk levels are with alcohol?
There are. There is very good research right now. There's also improving research. There's also ongoing stuff. But the European Beating Cancer Plan has published on that quite widely within the last year, and they're basically saying, look, there are 7 types of cancer that we can definitively and scientifically say are associated with alcohol consumption. That does include, mouth, throat, neck, breast in particular, stomach. So a lot of the ones that, if you think about, where alcohol physically touches, your system as you drink it, we also know in particular, I suppose as a woman, I'm really conscious that it's important to have conversations with women at the European level. They're saying that 1 in 10 breast cancers are associated with alcohol. Unfortunately, in Ireland, because we have a sort of a binging pattern of alcohol consumption, our figure is estimated to be 1 in 8 breast cancers are associated with alcohol consumption. And, the European research will do that right across those 7 types of cancer. It has evidence in relation to all of those. I think they're really hard conversations. I think it's hard for somebody, sitting at home listening to the radio this morning to accept that, because it's not something that we've talked about enough or known about enough, and we're very resistant to accepting it. And I think that whether or not you make a choice to drink alcohol as part of, the decisions that you make in your life as an adult, I think that we should at least know the harms that are associated with it. And I think the same goes for tobacco, and the same should go for ultra-processed food. We should know what the risks are when we consume products or when we consume food or drink or smoke.
Is your message to students then at an event like Alcohol Related Harm Week at the ATU, is your message, please consider stopping drinking completely?
I think our message has always been and continues to be that people have a right to know. People have a right to know that alcohol is a neurotoxin that has an impact on your brain, that 1 in 10 early dementias are related to alcohol. People should know that alcohol is, a significant risk to brain development when it's drank during the teenage years. People should know that it's a risk during pregnancy and that it can lead to, lifelong preventable intellectual disability in children. It is the leading cause of preventable intellectual disability on the planet. So these are all things I think people have a right to know. I think it's up then to governments and legislators to say, well, this is what we are suggesting that you do. That's why they have low risk drinking guidelines. But for us as a charity and as advocates, we very much fall strongly on the side of you have a right to be informed as a consumer, and what decision you make beyond that is up to yourself.
And what sort of response and reaction have you been getting from the students at the ATU?
I think it's really important to highlight that Atlantic Technological University, when it was last named, they were one of 22 universities, third level institutions at the time, who had signed up to the REACT program, and REACT stands for Reducing Excessive Alcohol Consumption in the Third Level. Quite the mouthful. But basically it meant that they were paying attention to and were concerned about alcohol consumption, excessive, harmful alcohol consumption among student populations, and that they wanted to look at sort of policies and procedures and initiatives within the student population and within the ATU at a management level, and sort of better management, better awareness, better education, looking at not serving alcoholic drinks at events on campus, all of those sorts of things. So they have been committed to sort of that harm reduction journey for quite a time, and I think it's entirely appropriate. They don't need people like me waving fingers at them. I think people need to have the conversations within the student body, and I think it's great to see leadership from the Students' Union.
Before we finish, 2 comments that have just come in. One comment: legal poisons are the ones that do the most damage, but they're taxed and socially endorsed. The other says, morning Donal, here we go again with these experts. Not so long ago they told the people a glass of red wine was good for your health. I've lost faith in experts just like I've lost faith in the government. Just 2 different perspectives. And
I suppose just on that, I think that's really, that's really important. And this is exactly what I was saying about people are really resistant to the message. Experts have never said, a glass of wine is good for you. There has been research is one of the areas where the alcohol industry has really infiltrated. It has supported, it has funded research to support their position, which is, that alcohol consumption isn't as harmful as the independent voice of public health would tell you. And I'm just here to share what the science is telling people. And the science is telling people that, unfortunately, there is no safe level of alcohol consumption, and all alcohol comes with a risk to your mental health, a risk to your physical health. And we can limit that and we can reduce our risk, but we need to be informed by the science.
Absolute food for thought. Paula Leonard, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks a million, Donal. Have a lovely day.
You too. That's Paula Leonard there. She's the CEO of the Alcohol Forum. Let's look at 1 or 2 comments before we go to a break. And Caller says, my favourite takeaway moment of your excellent election coverage was when Donal was interviewing Niall Blaney toward the end of day 2. I always enjoyed Donal's ability to process new information and present it to us in an easy to understand way. Niall was presenting his mathematical analysis of the transfers in a neo-Darwin manner, in that the votes didn't originate with the right voters, or they'd be dead by the time they went around the houses and on to the next candidate. Boy, did I enjoy it when Donal just said, after listening to Niall, my head hurts. And it was quite honest. My head did hurt at that point, to be honest. I hope Donal's head's well rested now. It most certainly is. Caller says, thanks for your professionalism and entertaining presentation of the count. And thank you indeed, Sarah. I mean, that was a job that was done by a team of people. And you saw Greg and you saw myself. And Greg did a stunning and amazing job. I have to say, I take my hat off to anyone who can sustain that for as long as Greg did. I mean, it was a mammoth task. And Greg took it on admirably. Greg did wonderfully. Michaela, all the online stuff was done by Michaela. I did a little bit more on air than Michaela did, and the reason for that was Michaela was doing stunning work online, all the coverage online, all the photographs, all the online work, that was all done by Michaela. Technically, everything was held together by Joe Dex, and Joe did a fantastic job. You probably never saw Joe at any point or barely heard Joe's name mentioned. Without Joe, it wouldn't have happened. We had Shannon and Caroline there doing Trojan work in terms of sourcing materials and supporting the team. Everyone that was there, and and I know it's become one of the sort of cliches, but it is absolutely true. What happened that weekend happened because a team of people worked together. Some of the team you saw and heard more than others, but without every single one of those team members, the coverage wouldn't have been what it was, and I'm proud to have been associated with it.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
At Hidden Hearing right now, get up to €2,000 off state-of-the-art hearing aids, even if you don't qualify for PRSI. Visit hiddenhearing.ie today. T's and C's apply.
Introducing Flow for Men, my new fragrance collection of products created to keep you feeling fresh and looking sharp. The ideal gift for the man in your life. Find Flow in pharmacies nationwide or online at flowbybo.com. Start every day with confidence.
251 Opel at Heron Auto. We are launching the all-new Opel Grandland available for January delivery. Finance rates from 0% APR. Order your 251 Opel and receive a free €500 Dunn Stores gift card. We have an award-winning range of cars and commercials in stock ready to test drive. Visit Heron Auto on the Killybegs Road, Donegal. Drive with confidence, drive with Heron Auto.
Everyone loves going to the cinema. That's why an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher is the perfect Christmas present. They aren't just for kids, but all the family. Even little Miss Hard to Buy For. We all have one of them. And when you buy an Eclipse Cinemas gift voucher, you now get 10% extra free. Available on our Bundoran and Lifford cinemas or at eclipsecinemas.com. Vouchers don't expire and can even be used for dine-in screen options and VIP cinema experiences.
Get kitted and football ready at Brian McCormick Sports. Donegal jerseys for all ages with mini kits for the younger fans. Donegal Western range, save 30%. Quarter zips, t-shirts and bottoms. Donegal infant tracksuit, save 30%. Wrap up your Donegal gift with a woolly hat from only €10. Click on bmcsports.ie for your Christmas gift.
Have you got your tickets for the Highland Radio Christmas concert? Get ready for a night of great music on Monday, December the 9th in the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. You can enjoy an incredible lineup with Mike Denver and his band, John McNichol, Jim Devine, Donna Taggart, Owen Mack and me, David James. Get your tickets now at the outlet at highlandradio.com, Alexander's Bala Buffet, the Cope Dunlow, the Mount Erigal Hotel, Simpsons Bar Carndonagh, or give us a call on 074 91 25000. Don't miss this Christmas cracker.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Just want to mention there's an invited lecture suitable for public and medical practitioners when the doctor becomes the patient. My successful battle with breast cancer. It's being given by Dr. Sinead Hanley, who's a breast radiologist in Adelaide. Now, there's a change to the venue if you've intended going to this. It's now taking place in the large conference room at Letterkenny University Hospital. It's taking place tomorrow evening from 7 until 8 when the doctor becomes the patient. My successful battle with breast cancer by Dr. Sinead Hanley, breast radiologist, Adelaide. It's a change of venue, so if you're going to that lecture tomorrow, it's now taking place at the large conference room at Letterkenny University Hospital. Now, we have a message in from a listener, and I just want to read this to you before getting a response from the INTO. I just wanted to highlight an issue that's really frustrating. My partner is a newly qualified teacher and has been subbing for the past 6 weeks in primary schools, but has received no pay from the Department of Education. She's applied for her teaching council number, but they told her this could take 8 weeks. 8 weeks to generate a number. It's now the mouth of Christmas and she will have to accept payment as an unqualified teacher with no teaching council number, even though she is a fully qualified primary school teacher, and will miss out on hundreds if not thousands of euro because the Department of Education are so slow at issuing a teaching council number. Now, we're joined on Zoom this morning by John Boyle, who is the General Secretary of the Irish National Teachers Organisation. John, good morning.
How are you doing, Donal? Good morning to you too.
Good morning, John. John, you've heard this, the comment from our listener, and I'm sure this is something you've heard before. Effectively, a qualified teacher is teaching but can't get paid properly because they haven't yet been given a number.
Yeah, Donal, that story certainly caught my imagination, captured my attention yesterday when I heard about it first. And it is very disconcerting for us in INTO when we know that there's 3,000 vacancies this year in primary schools, and we also know that there's nearly 800 unqualified people working in classrooms when we did our survey back nearly 6 weeks ago now. I suppose, yeah, you asked, did I hear of it before? I used to hear a lot more about this, Donal. We had a concerted effort with the Teaching Council to try to improve their processes, and this one here, I suppose we don't normally comment on individual cases, but I certainly would love to be able to help the listener, and maybe they might be able to contact me afterwards, because every teacher who's qualified deserves to be in a school, and certainly there's plenty of vacancies at the moment, as I said. But it is a wee bit of an outlier in the sense that if you qualify in Ireland, there's a fairly seamless process for registering with the Teaching Council, and I think rather than this being a payroll issue, it's more a Teaching Council issue that the teacher hasn't received the registration yet. And then when you receive your registration, it's at that point that the law of the land allows you to be paid as a teacher. So the big problem here for this listener is that his partner is not, or her partner is not registered yet, and 8 weeks would normally be the maximum length of time for somebody who qualified in Ireland. But the seamlessness is that the College of Education where the person studied starts engaging with the Teaching Council normally around the month of May, and then when the results come through in July, the Teaching Council gets those across in one bulk from the college, and then that gives ample time for the teacher to be registered for the jobs market before the schools open at the end of August. Now, schools have been open for 12 or 13 weeks at this stage, so it is galling when somebody hasn't been able to get registration, but maybe there could be individual circumstances, I'm not really sure. The big issue tends to be more so, Donal, with payroll. I remember Joe McHugh, when he was minister in 2019, went around a number of schools in Donegal and into staff rooms, and there was a lot of concern about the difficulty in contacting department payroll, feeling generally that they were understaffed and under-resourced, and that hasn't really changed very much. You know, there's certain pinch points in the year, particularly at the beginning of September, when all the new teachers are coming on board and the other teachers have come off payroll to retire. There certainly can be a pinch point there, but we do hear a lot of frustration from our own members when they're coming back from overseas, or where they're moving from Northern Ireland, or whether they're basically just been appointed to a temporary position maybe in the month of August, and it can take them up to 8 weeks to get their pay. So that's certainly not acceptable, and the Department of Education is doing a big kind of a engagement with stakeholders at the moment, a big survey that they completed last week. And in that case there, we encouraged all our members to send complaints into the department through the survey that the services that they're getting from payroll in particular are not good enough.
Yeah, and indeed the full, I mean, obviously I read you an extract from a longer communication, and reading down that email, the next paragraph does say that the teacher in question has also contacted the Department of Education and various other payroll offices, but has got nowhere. They say the teacher's payroll office only opens for 2 days every second week, Thursday and Friday from 9 until 1. And they say that's ridiculous when you consider the people they're employed to help are teaching children in school during those hours. So the office is only open while teachers are in classrooms, and that only 2 days a week for about 4 hours.
I know, and that's a point that we've made repeatedly to the department, and even back as far as 2019 when the Donegal minister was in power. And certainly they're much more efficient if they're contacted by email. And if you're in a school, usually the school principal will know which person in the payroll section deals with that particular school. And in that case, you can actually email that person directly and you might get a much quicker response. But it's not acceptable that the public office or the office that teachers would contact is only open for a very, very short period every week by telephone. And not everybody has access to email as quickly, I suppose, particularly teachers who are subbing. They're not necessarily attached to a base school. And in that case, they mightn't have the detail as to who directly they could contact. So that's why we've asked all our members to put in very, very strong feedback to the department in the survey. And we got a message yesterday that they were inundated with responses to the survey. So hopefully that will bring about some improvements. But I mean, the overall situation here at Donal as well can't be forgotten, that this is one case here where we're short a teacher who should be getting paid at the fully qualified rate. She's a fully qualified teacher, but we have nearly 800 people unqualified. We have nearly 3,000 vacancies, and the new government is coming in now, and we published a manifesto ourselves very, very soon before the general election. Every party got it, and we did get certain commitments from parties that they're going to try and improve the processes with the department, but particularly to try to improve the teacher supply crisis, try to make the profession more attractive. And any young Irish teacher that I hear that's here and is keen to work or keen to return to the country, we in this union certainly are doing our very, very best to make sure that they can get back here, get a job, a full-time job, get up the payroll, and get working in front of the children who have been left without teachers for so long. And that's obviously a national scandal. And in this case here, this is a teacher that we need in the system as quickly as possible. And if I can give any help, maybe offline, I'd be happy to do so.
Well, what we'll do, John, is we'll pass your details on to the person that sent in the original message to us, and we'll get the two of you in touch, and hopefully a resolution will be found to this particular one. John, thanks very much indeed for sharing that with us. Hopefully, as you said, this is an outlier, and obviously we want to be fair to the Teacher Council and to the Department of Education and so on. But I mean, the sooner this is resolved, the sooner we have another fully qualified teacher teaching children in a classroom for a fair and commensurate wage. And, well, it might be debatable by your union how fair and commensurate it is, but hopefully we'll have a fully qualified teacher in a classroom where she belongs, doing her job and getting paid the required rate. John, thank you very much indeed.
You're welcome, Donal.
Thank you, John. That's John Boyle there, a Donegal man, of course, but also the INTO. Now, let's move on to... before we go through a break, I want to go very briefly to the second competition, because we're being so good to you. Christmas obviously is coming, so it's a time of generosity, and I want to remind you of the competition we're running in conjunction with the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa. We're giving you the chance to win their Pamper Me Please package. It's worth €130. A luxurious 2.5-hour spa package includes an aromatic steam session and cocoon room, a hot towel, foot and back cleanse, a stress-relieving back massage, a Yonka facial with face and scalp massage, a pressure point foot massage, and snooze room relaxation time with refreshments. And who couldn't be doing with that after a hard week's work? You can participate in that competition by answering a very simple question. The question is, which Christmas song mentions a one-horse open sleigh? Is it Jingle Bells or White Christmas? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 20 5000.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Be the first to test drive the brand new Nissan Qashqai at iMotors. Low finance rates and up to €4,000 available on trade-in boosters. iMotors are offering any customer who orders before December 23rd the chance to win €10,000. Visit our showroom today.
iMotors, fearless generation.
Make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores with festive savings on a fantastic selection of wines for €10 or less. Then mix and match tasty treats like 5 packs of selected Cadbury bars and large tubes of Pringles, now half price. Plus, you can save again at the till with a 10 off 50 grocery voucher. However you do your Christmas shop, make Christmas for everyone with Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used in next grocery shop of €50 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
At DoorTech Garage Door Systems in Kilmacrennan, we specialise in the supply and installation of all types of industrial roller doors and garage doors. Whether for your home, business or farm, our doors offer the security you need. For premium quality doors, call DoorTech on 9139941 or visit doortech.ie.
That's the sound of someone sleeping soundly on a Restex mattress. Choose from the Donegal range. A Teelan, a Kinnigo, or a Mulroy mattress. It'll change the way you sleep forever. Restex beds, mountaintop Letterkenny. Leave the rest to us.
If you're struggling for Christmas gift ideas, look no further than Watson Hire in Letterkenny. They've brilliant deals on tools, homeware, workwear, and comfy boots to keep anyone warm on the job. Plus loads of stocking fillers and other gift ideas in store. Or have it delivered straight to your door at watsonhire.ie. Get a gift that matters at Watson Hire, Lisnanen, Letterkenny. Also open every Sunday until Christmas.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
Staying dry for a time, but cloud will continue to build from the west with rain and drizzle spreading from the Atlantic later this morning and into the afternoon. That'll continue right into the evening. It'll become windy as southerly winds increase, fresh to strong and gusty, with gales for a time in western coastal parts. Milder with the rain. Highest temperatures today 9 to 12 degrees Celsius. Tonight it will become drier as the rain and drizzle clear southeastwards early on. Some scattered showers following, with a few clear spells developing. It'll stay rather windy for a time, with those winds veering southwesterly and gradually moderating. Lowest overnight temperatures 5 to 7 degrees Celsius. Tomorrow mostly cloudy start, but it'll stay dry by and large apart from a few scattered showers. However, outbreaks of showery rain will spread from the southwest later tomorrow morning, some of it turning heavy at times. Tomorrow again mild with temperatures of 8 to 11 degrees Celsius. Now we're going to go to Zoom and speak to Dr. Charles O'Mahony, who is a lecturer in law at the Galway University School of Law. Charles, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
A study commissioned by the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission has found that many disabled people face barrier layered upon barrier in trying to access their legal rights. Now, anecdotally, we are told things are improving all the time. From the findings of this particular survey, it would suggest they're not moving quickly enough.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think if you look back to the 90s, you had a report called the Commission on the Status of Persons with Disabilities, and that made recommendations to improve access to justice for disabled people. And a lot has happened since then. We've had the Disability Act, we've had the Employment Equality Acts, we've had the Equal Status Act in terms of access to goods and services, and disability is a discriminatory ground under that. But this research was actually asked for by disabled people. The Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission have a disability advisory committee of 13 disabled people and who are activists and advocates, and they asked for this research because in their own lived experience they had found lots of barriers to claiming their rights and to be treated equally and included in society. So this research, it's quite a long piece of research. It's 250 pages, and it importantly looked at all of the evidence, the law, the policy, the research, but then it also interviewed people working in the justice system, criminal and civil, and also disabled people to get their perspectives. And it found that there was a huge amount of barriers facing people in accessing the justice system. There was 30 different themes that emerged in the research, and I can talk to a couple of the key points if you want. But really, I suppose the main finding from the research is that the people that have the greatest legal need in terms of challenging discrimination and accessing services, they have the greatest amounts of obstacles in accessing the justice system.
In terms of the failures, is this a failure of law or is this a failure of structure? As in, do we need new laws to actually uphold these rights, or is it a matter of taking the laws and provisions that are there and actually applying them on the ground?
There's actually a lot of law, there's a lot of policy, but I think implementation is very important, and there is new laws that are needed, the reform of laws. But I'll give you an example around resources. For example, we do have for many years a national advocacy service, but it's not put on a statutory basis, so there isn't a right to have an advocate. So we have lots of people, say, for example, across Donegal, there's residential disability services. There are lots of people living in residential disability services, and they're subject to a lot of restrictions in their own homes in terms of restricted access to the community, restrictions in their own home access to kitchens, locked doors, and there's no real oversight. There's inspection from HECWA, but there's no oversight. And a lot of those people don't have access to an advocate. So people should have an independent advocate, and that goes across lots of different areas. So that's one area where this could be addressed, to actually increase the funding for the National Advocacy Service and put it on a statutory basis, so have it in law that people have a right of access. And then the other area that I kind of point up as well is around legal aid. So we have, well-funded criminal legal aid. So if you're accused of very serious criminal offences, you can have access to lawyers. But let's say, for example, you're a disabled person and you're discriminated against in accessing education, or you're discriminated against in employment. You're entitled to take a case to the Workplace Relations Commission, but you don't get provision for a solicitor or a barrister to help you argue your case. And if you're going up against an employer, for example, or a service provider that's discriminated, they will have legal representation, or they'll have an employer will have IBEC representation. So there's an inequality of arms when you are actually challenging discrimination, and that's something that needs to be addressed.
And clearly it would appear from that point of view, and in one way that's anticipated my next question, because I was going to say someone in that situation may feel vulnerable, they may feel, I won't say threatened, intimidated perhaps is a better word, not necessarily that it's being deliberately done to them, but that's the way they feel as a result of, as you say, that inequality of arms. And it may make people either drop a case, or perhaps even worse, having heard of other people's experience, may actually make them think, no, I won't take a case at all.
And that's it. And I suppose I should say as well, you really want to be taking a case as a last resort. It's very expensive, it's very emotionally taxing, it's very upsetting to take a case, and it's stressful. And that's why there's another set of recommendations then around awareness raising, and particularly for people in the justice system, in the court service, in the various different bodies that are involved in the administration of justice, that there's more training for people and more awareness raising, because there is that disincentive to challenge when you experience discrimination because of the barriers and the difficulty in taking a case.
It's an interesting and fascinating subject, Charles, and we'll be keeping a close look on this, because obviously we want to ensure that anyone that needs recourse to law, or anyone that needs recourse to something like the WRC, is given all the supports that they need. Obviously this study is highlighting this. Are you getting the sense from people in the legal profession that attention is going to be paid to this, and more importantly, action is going to be taken on the basis of it?
There will be. So Ireland, and I suppose one of the reasons this has been given attention is because Ireland has signed and ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. We were the last actually EU member state to do that. We did that in 2018. And then recently as well, at the end of last month, we finally, Ireland finally ratified the optional protocol. And the optional protocol allows people to complain directly to the UN Committee in Geneva if they feel their rights have been infringed, or they've been discriminated against, if they've exhausted their domestic remedies, so if they've taken a case and they've lost, or it's too difficult to take a case, or if it takes too long, you can potentially make a complaint to the committee in Geneva. So actually Ireland is going to enter into a reporting cycle. So Ireland's record across all of disability law and policy is going to be scrutinised in the next year or two in Geneva. And that gives an opportunity for disabled people's organisations, NGOs, the Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission, to call out failures and to make identify areas where there could be improvement. So there is a lot of scrutiny, and the government, and if you look at the manifestos from the recent general election, there is a commitment across different aspects of disability. So it is an area where we should see development and increased resources in lots of different spaces.
Dr. Charles O'Mahony, thank you very much indeed for speaking to us this morning. And that's Dr. Charles O'Mahony, their lecturer at the University of Galway's School of Law. It's approaching a minute and a half to 10 o'clock. Time for news and obituary notices, and we'll be back after those. But for now, stay tuned. Michaela's up next.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
It's the Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware 70% off sale. Get up to 70% off all your purchases. Up to 70% off all tiles, all wood flooring, all bathware. Everything's reduced in store. The 70% off sale at Right Price Tiles wood flooring and bathware. Stores nationwide. Sale extended until Sunday.
Here at Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville and Bridgend, we stock recliner and fabric suites, dining tables and chairs, beds and mattresses, curtains and rugs, and don't forget our large flooring department stocking carpet, vinyl and laminate flooring. We can't be beaten on price or quality and give a weekly delivery service to Donegal, Derry and Strabane, not to be matched. So call in today to Braden's House to Home Interiors, Moville or Bridgend for all your home furnishing needs.
Ho, 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 ho. Get ready to unwrap the magic of Christmas with a festive lineup of Christmas classics in Century Cinemas. Join your friends and family to experience the timeless joy of Christmas on the big screen, including Love Actually and Home Alone. Check out centurycinemas.ie for a full list of movies and to book your tickets.
Get ready for Christmas at Meehan's of Raffo with men's polo shirts, quarterzips, chinos and shirts all up to 5XL. Shirt and jumper sets available up to 4XL. A large selection of ladies' diesel fleeces with matching leggings to make the ideal Christmas gift at Meehan's of Raffo with Christmas gift vouchers available.
Luxury is not merely seen or heard or even touched. True luxury is experienced. It lies in the minute details that elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. It's quiet spoken, but leaves a lasting impression. You know it when you feel it. Luxury begins with L. Lexus. Experience amazing. Discover the all-electrified range at Lexus Letterkenny.
Are you building or renovating? Crana Flow Screed is a trusted, locally established company specialising in all types of floor insulation and screeds. For a quote, contact Mark McLaughlin at 086 8177 7808 or email cranaconcrete@gmail.com.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin will hold their first parliamentary meetings later today. It will be the first time TDs will meet fellow party members since the election, many of whom are new to the Dáil. The parties will separately discuss government formation, with Fine Gael calling for party of esteem, meaning Simon Harris and Micheál Martin would rotate the position of Taoiseach. Government Chief Whip and Fine Gael Minister Hildegard Naughton says forming a stable government is the key priority.
We look at what's happening internationally. We're all very aware of it, and we need to protect this country through what are potentially external shocks coming down the track. And that's what the Taoiseach will be asking our new Fine Gael parliamentary party today. He'll be seeking a mandate from our TDs to get their perspectives in relation to how we move forward.
Donegal County Council's budget meeting is getting underway around now. The council is to spend just over €200 million in 2025, an 8.2% increase. Members will also discuss today a proposed 4.75% increase in the ARV, which determines the level of commercial rates. Chief Executive John McLaughlin says the budget will help drive the development of the county and the wider Northwest region. A delegation, meanwhile, from Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Committee will travel to Dublin tomorrow to meet with Housing Department officials. It's off the back of a prior meeting around 6 weeks ago in which 19 key points were raised. Many councillors yesterday told a meeting of the Inishowen Municipal District that a scheme for social homes must be top of the agenda for the delegation tomorrow. Chair of the committee, Councillor Martin McDermott, anticipates that there will be positive news on that.
We'll be very hopeful that we're ready to get the green light in relation to the social homes as well, so that the local authority can start remediating social homes very early in the new year. But that's just one of a number of things that we will discuss and try and get alleviated for homeowners on Thursday when we meet them. But look, we'll be very hopeful that some of the issues that we're having at the minute will be resolved.
The Kreeslough Community Grant Scheme has opened. The initiative aims to enhance the memories of the victims of the October 2022 tragedy and benefit the communities affected by it. Emily Keegan has more.
3 strands of funding are available under the Kreeslough Community Grant Scheme. They are youth development and support activities, trauma support and commemorative activities. Voluntary community and social groups, as well as non-governmental and not-for-profit organisations, schools, sports clubs and groups operating in the areas where those impacted by the Kreeslough tragedy live, can apply. €165,406 in funding is available, with the minimum amount that can be applied for €500 and the maximum €40,000. The closing date for applications is January 31st, 2025.
More information is available on our website, highlandradio.com. Around 500,000 people could mistakenly be on the electoral register. The head of the Electoral Commission, Art O'Leary, has confirmed the register is not as accurate as it should be. Concerns are being raised over how this may affect the figure given for the national turnout for votes, which was below 60% for the first time since 1923 this weekend. Political analyst Oran Flynn says there are a number of errors with the list.
It's a whole combination of things. It's people who have died, it's people who have moved, it's people who have emigrated. All of those put together. Probably most of it comes from the fact that a lot of people, younger people particularly, come to live away from the rural areas where they come from. And that's why Donegal, Kerry, Western Ireland is particularly relevant.
A man is due to appear in court in Derry today, charged with a number of drug-related offences. The 36-year-old was arrested in the city overnight. He's charged with possession and supply of a Class B and Class C controlled drug. All charges are to be reviewed by the PPS. Weather now, any mist and fog will clear this morning and it will be dry for a time. However, it will become increasingly cloudy with rain and drizzle spreading later. Highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notice says for this Wednesday morning, December the 4th. The death has occurred of Myra Grieve, née Gillen, formerly of Clonee, Dublin and Letterkenny, County Donegal, reposing at her daughter Caroline's residence in Carbery, County Kildare, today from 4 o'clock until 8 o'clock. Removal tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock to arrive at St Bridget's Church, Straffan for 2 o'clock at funeral mass, followed by burial in Lara Bryan Cemetery, Maynooth. The funeral mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Rose Doherty, butcher, Main Street, Kildare. Her remains will be reposing at her home from 12 noon today. Family time please from 11 o'clock until 11 o'clock. Funeral from there on Friday morning at 20 past 10, going to St Mary's Church, Bocken for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, with interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only please, donations in lieu if desired to the St Mary's Church Bocken Restoration Fund, care of any family member or McFeely Funeral Directors. Rose's funeral mass can be viewed live on kildaffparish.com. The death has taken place of John Marriott, late of Coleman Fold, Strabane and formerly of Drury Lane, London, reposing at his son Stephen Marriott's home, 58 Castle Grange Park, Strabane. Funeral leaving his son's home this afternoon at 22:05, going to St Mary's Church, Melmount. Requiem Mass there tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The house is private to family and friends only please. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has taken place of Anne McGeehan, Ballykieran, Kilmacrennan. Anne's remains will repose at her late residence today from 11 o'clock until 10 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning, going to St Columba's Church, Kilmacrennan for Requiem Mass at 11 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The funeral mass can be viewed on churchservices.tv. Family time please on the morning of the funeral. The death has taken place of Eamon Doherty, 2 Derryveigh Avenue, Letterkenny, and formerly from Ashlawn, Letterkenny. Eamon's remains will repose at his sister Nuala Higgins' residence at 21 Sleevesnack Close, Letterkenny, today from 12 noon until 10 o'clock, with rosary tonight at 9 o'clock. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:30, going to the Church of the Irish Martyrs, Ballyree, Letterkenny for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, which can be viewed on the parish YouTube channel. Interment afterwards to All Saints Church Cemetery, Newton Cunningham. Family time on the morning of the funeral please. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place of Maya Crumlish, née Byrne, Churchtown, Carndonagh. Her remains are reposing at her late residence, Churchtown, Carndonagh. Removal from there this morning at 10:15, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. Family flowers only please. The death has taken place in Luton of Dennis Doherty, Toner, Swalsdale Road, Limbury, Mead, Luton and formerly of Faldoff, Carndonagh. His remains will repose at Kelly's Funeral Home, Carndonagh, today from 2 o'clock until 7 o'clock. Removal at 7 o'clock this evening to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, to repose overnight. Funeral Mass at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. Family flyers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to Carndonagh Community Hospital, care of any family member or Kelly's funeral directors. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Frances Stewart, née Wilson, formerly of Liskey House, Strabane, and latterly of 21 Cavanagh View, Ballymagorry, County Tyrone. A private funeral service with family only will take place at her home today, with burial afterwards at Douglas Presbyterian Church at 1 o'clock. Family flyers only, please. Donations in lieu if desired to the Foyle Hospice. And the death has taken place of Tiernan Doherty, 14 Convent Road, Carndonagh. Remains are reposing at his late residence. Funeral from there tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, going to the Sacred Heart Church, Carndonagh, for 1:30 Requiem Mass, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Requiem Mass can be viewed live on the parish webcam. For family information and more details regarding wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Díghaiste cara, chuna tá sales in Astro. Cracker bit an seo. Well, I heard Theresa do margin. Live a lord dum sin a leighton to seo. They make dull quick more on koshery, mac no main on colour carbe. By law in Takamara cogam.
Is féidir le feib codalta drochúmar strus agus imní a bheith mar chóirthaí gur chóirdeid do bheabharthlánse a cheacáil. Tá tacaíocht fáil an Eirlis má phlean meabharthlánse ag yourmentalhealth.ie ón HSE.
Welcome to the second hour of the 9 till noon show today. We spoke earlier to Paul Leonard from Alcohol Forum Ireland about alcohol harm, and the caller says, I have to agree with that lady. Unfortunately, I know several, too many actually, who died from cancer that never touched a drink. I also know a few elderly who drank and lived into their 90s at this stage. Everything you take is associated with cancer. Several ladies who are currently going through breast cancer don't drink alcohol at all, and how can she explain that? I remember years ago, there was an anti-smoking campaigner called Alan Carr, and at one point I read his book. And Alan Carr said the most dangerous person in the world is Uncle Fred. And Alan Carr argued that Uncle Fred, everyone has one, and Uncle Fred is the guy that drank and smoked and lived to be 100. And everybody says, Uncle Fred drank and smoked and lived to be 100, sure, I'll be grand. And they ignored the fact that another 99 people who had acted in the same way were dead before they were 70. And there's a certain element of that here. I think, caller, in fairness, not everyone drinks to excess. Not everyone who drinks is going to get cancer. Not everyone who gets cancer is going to drink. This is a matter of risk, and I don't want to put words in Paul Leonard's mouth or anybody else's, but what they're saying is, if you drink alcohol, you are increasing your risk of cancer. And what she is saying, and it's a fair point, is that we want to put this message in front of people, give people the knowledge. The knowledge is that the research, as we interpret it and as we understand it, and as scientifically it appears, the evidence is that if you drink alcohol, your risk of cancer is increasing. It's not saying you're going to get it. It's not saying if you don't drink alcohol, you won't get it. It's saying that it is a risk. And I think they wouldn't want to be saying any more than that. We spoke to our caller earlier on, just before the break, that we were talking to Charles, who was a law lecturer in Galway, about rights for disabled people. Caller says there wasn't even a chair for people with mobility issues in the polling station when I went to vote on Friday. When I asked for a chair, I was offered a child's chair, which was too low to sit in. Now, I suppose the fact that many polling stations are in schools explains why it was a child's chair you were offered. But yeah, it's a very fair point that maybe there needs to be more facilities, even if it's only the provision of a chair where someone can sit down or whatever like that. Certainly something that needs to be looked at. Caller, we were talking yesterday about scams, and a caller says, I got a fraudulent call from Visa to say I had money taken out of my account. I nearly gave them my info. Now is the time of year that they're all out. And the message, the key message, and we heard this from Mark Ford from the Central Bank yesterday, you hear it from Gardaí on a regular basis. Whatever you do or don't do, don't ever discuss account numbers, passwords, codes, anything like that when you receive a call, particularly if it's a cold call. And indeed, they tell you they will never ask you for PIN numbers or anything like that ever on a phone call or in a text message. Public Services Centre is only open to the public on a Tuesday and a Thursday. Can anybody explain why this office hasn't fully reopened to the public since COVID? Not everyone has access to online services. Very fair point. Again, one on scams. There's a scam going around, scammers sending out fake ESB bills. They ask you to shift your bank from AIB to Danske Bank. People might get caught out with this scam. Very often, what happens is you will get, and this used to happen an awful lot more, but I remember regularly I used to get texts, dear customer of such and such a bank, there is an issue with your account, please log into this address immediately. I wasn't a customer of such and such a bank. But the law of averages states that if a scammer sends out an email to 2,000 people, I won't be a member or a customer of that bank, but, you know, at least 500 or 600 of the people they send emails to will be. Connors, is a four-pack of drinks was displayed as €4.50. When I went to the till, I was charged €7. Why is the full price not displayed? It's very deceiving when you go to the till and you're asked for a different price to what's displayed. Now, I can't answer that. The one thing that's happening, I've noticed more and more in recent times in supermarkets on both sides of the border, is that you're getting now many supermarkets have their loyalty cards. They go under different names, so we'll say their loyalty card. And what you'll very often now get is you'll get the full price and you'll get then beside it a loyalty card price. So the full price is such and such, the loyalty card price is lower. And that's in a bid to get customers to take out loyalty cards. And the argument, I think, here maybe, now I'm not saying it is, it could well be, Caller, that you saw a... and very often what they'll do as well is, and I've been caught with this, that the loyalty card price will be emblazoned in yellow and very prominent, and the full price will be in smaller lettering beside it. And you'll see Value Club price, blump. And it may be that that's what's happened here. I can't say it is, but I suspect it's a possibility. What's the deal with Biden pardoning his son? Sure, how many of these with connections in Ireland, i.e. the 3 Ps, priests, politicians, pals, who had pending convictions conveniently quashed? Good morning. How about we sell our own food to our own people? It's quite simple. We have over 5 million people, plenty to support farmers and Fischer or folk. We are Ireland. Just because you don't want change, you're happy in your... Right, okay. We'll leave that one there because... But it's okay. A person basically saying, don't worry about imports, don't worry about exports, sell our own food to our own people and we can be self-sufficient. We need a one-house policy in this country per couple or single person. The greed of people who want more houses is artificially keeping prices up on people and couples on low incomes. Couples on minimum wage should be allowed to own a house with a bed and fire. Councils that don't help people live in a mobile home on their own land are helping the greedy people. Absolutely heartbreaking news about that wee girl. Too many children being harmed and affected by domestic violence. Absolutely. When I was at school, the girls were much smarter overall than the boys. If the woman is qualified for the job, she should get the job, but she should not be getting special treatment because she is not a man. Isn't that sexist? If you think being sexist is a bad thing, why would you be pushing being sexist, even if it is to further your own agenda? I think the argument is, as I understand it, and I presume that goes back to our discussion yesterday on gender quotas, what is being suggested is there is not equality of opportunity. If there was equality of opportunity, and a comment like this presupposes that, it presupposes that men and women will have exactly the same opportunity, and in that case they are equal, and then they can compete on their own merits. The problem is if you don't have equality of opportunity, then you will not succeed. I'll give you a very crude example. If someone says to me, take part in a running race with someone, and let's say I and somebody else can run about equally the same. So they say, you're going to have to take part in a race, and you're going to race along a tarmac road, and the race is going to be 500 metres. Now, I doubt I could run 500 metres, to be honest. I'd walk it, but I can't run it. But let's say I could. Let's say I'm going to run a race over 500 metres with somebody who roughly is about the same as me in terms of ability to run. If I'm given a pair of runners and they have to do it barefoot, I'm going to win. That is not equality of opportunity, and that it's a rough equivalent, but it's basically roughly what it's saying. That if I'm running and I have a pair of runners on, I immediately have an unfair advantage, and even though the other person may be as good as me in every other respect, I am going to win because I have an artificial advantage that other person doesn't have. 19 minutes past 10, and I'm sure lots of people out there are going, would he ever shut up and give us the bingo numbers? Which is an absolutely fair point. So if you do play Highland Radio Vision Ireland Radio Bingo, grab your books, grab your pens. We'll tell you who we are, and then we'll hand you over to Janice.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
Discover the ultimate escape at the Spa at Orchids, the Holyrood Hotel, Bundoran, nominated for Spa Experience of the Year 2024 by the Irish Hotel Awards. Indulge in an oriental bamboo massage, reflexology, or choose from our signature therapies, skin glowing facials and invigorating body treatments. Couples can unwind together in twin treatment rooms or share a peaceful moment in the secret garden with outdoor hot tub. The Spa at Orchids, open daily. To buy a gift voucher or reserve your appointment, visit holyroodhotel.com.
It's time for Vision Ireland Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Wednesday, the 4th of December. You're playing on the blue sheet for the daily prize of €1,400. The reference number is S3. It's game number 49. The numbers are 47, 57, 3, 24, 36, 54, 8, 45, 64, and finally 77. Phone your claim to 9104833 before midnight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your Vision Ireland bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Introducing Flow for Men, my new fragrance collection of products created to keep you feeling fresh and looking sharp. The ideal gift for the man in your life. Find Flow in pharmacies nationwide or online at flowbybo.com. Start every day with confidence.
Put your money where your heart is this Christmas with a Strabane gift card. Purchasing a Strabane gift card is the perfect way to support local businesses and can be used in over 70 businesses, making it the perfect gift this Christmas. So, love local today. Buy the Strabane gift card at O'Neill Sportswear, the Alley Theatre, or online at lovestrabane.com.
At Londis, we wish our customers in Donegal a very happy Christmas. We know what locals want because we are local like you, even as local as Lough Swilly on a beautiful crisp winter's day. Happy Christmas from Londis.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Just before we go any further, remind you of our competition. Our first one, because we're being so generous this week, we have two competitions. We've teamed up with Cadbury Secret Santa. They have 22,000 bars to give away this year. To celebrate the return of the Secret Santa, we have two huge hampers of chocolate to give away, plus a €50 voucher to be won every day. All you have to do is tell us why you would want to surprise someone special with a Secret Santa bar this year. Why do they deserve it? What good reason do you have to surprise someone with a secret Cadbury bar? Tell us about that person in your life who deserves that treat. You could win €50 today and also go into a draw to win a Cadbury hamper for you and for your nominee. Don't forget, if you want to send that bar in secret, just look out for the special posters that are cropping up all over the country, and just text or WhatsApp us with your nominee and the reasons why you're nominating them, and you can do so on 086 60 25,000. That's 086 60 25,000. Now, I want to talk about an important issue. Today is National Searching for the Missing Persons Day. And there's an event taking place in Dublin. A database that allows searches of unidentified human remains is being launched at the 12th Annual Missing Persons Day. It's taking place today in Dublin's Croke Park. Now, I'm joined on the line by Tosh Lavery. He's been a guest on the show before. He has worked over the years with, among others, the Garda Diving Unit, has been involved in many, many searches, and also has taken a very keen interest in this area. Tosh, a very good morning to you.
How are you getting on, Donal?
I'm very well indeed. Thank you, Tosh. In terms of this event, Tosh, and you've had the experience of diving and searching and finding remains and helping families come to terms with the loss by at least giving them a body to bury. You've been involved on the side that's done that, but you've also been involved in cases where it hasn't happened.
Ambiguous loss, it's called, not known, and it's probably one of the worst afflictions to put on any family. And I mean, we all know about the disappeared, and there's still 4 people outstanding in that group, and people have had remains returned to them. Every one of us, I saw something the other day, I think it was Mary Lou saying about a funeral and about attending funerals, and I just saw her comment like it's the most humane thing for people to do, to have a body, to go to a Christian burial, and there was bodies that were never handed up. Now, in this instance, in most of these instances, we say that we'll deal with today, but now, there are people going to be there today, like the Mohans, and people that their children and their families, mothers and fathers and everything, disappeared through crime. And then there's others that decided to leave home or whatever else. There's many more. Mary Boyle is your own main case in Donegal and Kreeslough, going back to 1977. But one thing I would always, there's fishermen, and I've been there all my life, and the Evelyn Marie anniversary is coming up on the 7th of January, 50 years. Nobody ever mentions fishermen that are lost and they'll never be returned. They're missing to their families as well. It's an awful, awful affliction to put on any family, to not have a body and to be lying there in bed at night, thinking about what happened and where are they. And another thing as well is using the word closure is not a proper thing to do as well either, because there's never closure. Even if remains are found, families ask themselves what happened to them and what did the person think before they died, and all this, all those things go through. So ambiguous loss, not knowing where someone is a horrible, horrible affliction on anybody. And it'll be sad. I'm just near Croke Park now on my way in, and Park here at Phibsborough. And to see the amount of families that'll sit around there, and especially mothers, I often notice that a lot of their fathers have died in long-term missing now. And to just see them sitting there chatting and to realise, I don't know, it's very, very hard to understand it now. I haven't anybody missing belong to me. But for them to be seen talking and looking at them, it's really, really a very, very sad time for them.
What more can be done, Tosh? I mean, science is improving all the time. We know there's talk of that database now that's being launched. It'll allow for searches of unidentified human remains. Are we getting to the point where maybe we can get more information from unmarked graves, more information from unidentified remains, and hopefully these scientific advances will help bring some closure to other families? And I know 100%. You said closure is the wrong word, and I apologise for using it.
No, what I mean is the amount of closure that you get from returning remains or identification is fantastic,
Yeah.
But I don't use that word myself. No, you are very, very correct. Like next week, today, there'll be people speaking down here on Croke Park, right? You have crime call on every month now, and there's always 1 or 2 missing persons named on that. Now, before there was never anything. There's a missing persons group now based in Kevin Street, and are in constant contact with England. That was never done. There's bodies being identified now after 17 and 18 years and 20 years. And as you said, the database that's set up, and that was fought for many years. And even the National Missing Persons Day was fought for many years. And we had to go in and sit in front of the Dáil and make a case for a National Missing Persons Day. But I have to say there is major, major progress having been made by lots and lots of people, different attempts. Look, there's changes in government, or changes in politicians, but the database, the forensic science now, you're right, has made a huge difference. I see the other day where they exhumed the body up there in the north, in a graveyard, to do with the disappeared, So if information comes in, and there is people out there, and that's one thing I will say, there is people out there all over Ireland. I mean, Coolock itself have 10 or 12 or 13 people on the missing list. There's people out there that know where people are buried, that were involved in crime or whatever else. And I'd ask them now, people, just think about this if you hear me speaking on the radio. Just think about what it's like to lose your little child in the shopping centre just when you're shopping. And then when the kids are away, we say for an overnight, you don't answer the phone, the amount of pain you have in your stomach. And then people like Mrs. Boyle, above there in Donegal, suffering since 1977, and many, many more parents like them. You know, the amount of suffering that they're going through. But I think myself, and I have to say, and I would have been a critic, there's major progress have to be made within the Garda Síochána, within the government, within, the forensic science groups. And people think that the cold case teams are not working. They're working every day. We saw about Jojo recently. Deirdre Jacob, Sandra Collins. All those cases are being looked into. But we do need help. We need help from the outside. There is people that know. There's parents, there's mothers, there's fathers, there's wives, there's children, there's friends out there that know something. And please come forward and give these people a bit of peace.
And as you said too, there are also the cases, and in Donegal, we know as much as any about those missing at sea. I remember the first major story I covered in my very first days here was the Carrickatine, the loss of 5 men in that horrendous tragedy, and there are so many more like it off the coast of Donegal and have been for many years.
Donal, if you think about it, like the Evelyn Marie, the Carrigoon, the Boy Sean, the Ross Turk, in the Erie, the Eliam, I could go back over them, the Carrickatine, and these people, this is all over Ireland now. You never see any of their names mentioned in a missing person. They are missing persons to their families.
It's funny, I remember actually, and an area that you will know well, being a fellow Waterford man, I was in Dunmore East recently, and I just saw the monument to lost fishermen there, and it's a lovely monument, I have to say. It was unveiled a few years back in Dunmore East. But when you look at the list of names and the number of names on that, it really brings it home. And there are monuments like that pretty much in every port in this country.
But don't listen, it's fantastic that they're even there. Even today, people don't realise today what it's like for them families to sit and meet and to know they're not on their own. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, that monument down there. My own friends, I have friends on that, believe it or not. My friends' names are on that monument down there. I'll be down there next week anyway. But today is a great day. People think, I have to travel or this or that and the other. They're all supporting each other here today. Everybody there. Bernafide Ann will come over from England on a plane. Her sister is missing out in Bray. Mrs. Boyle will come from Donegal. Now, and that's another thing. Garda liaison officers are travelling with these people. They're travelling in the train up from Waterford. They're travelling in the train from Mayo with the families. That's a huge improvement. One time I met families, they told me they hadn't spoken to a guard in 10 years. That's all finished. That's all gone. That don't happen anymore. Guards are there, and they have liaison guards, and their families are able to speak to them. Now, a lot of the time, a guard won't have information, a long-term mission. But even to sit down with someone for a cup of tea and speak to them, ask me how they're feeling. And some people are frightened, to speak to people, parents or siblings of somebody's missing when they see them on the street. And the only reason is they don't know what to say to them, But believe it or not, they like for you to talk to them about it and see how they're getting on, and because they all have a celebration so far, it's called. There's days they have birthdays and Christmases, and they leave a chair empty at the table for the missing person. There's an awful lot involved in it. But I do believe, that there is major progress after being made with regards to identification and that. But we really do need the help from members of the public, people out there that know, especially that people are missing in crime. There are other people involved. This don't happen on their own. There are cases that are one-off, but that's, another day's work.
Tosh, we know that President Higgins lit a candle at Orison Uachtaráin this week to remember all those who are missing, and all we can hope really is that the light from this candle will maybe stretch out and bring some hope into those who are missing, and hopefully based on this campaign and these new scientific advances, that we will bring hope to some families, that they will be they will get the remains of their loved ones, and they will be able to have that burial and be able to have a focus for their grief and their loss. For the moment, Tosh, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Don. Thank you.
Okay, Tosh. That's Tosh Lavery there, very, very much involved in the search for missing persons over the years. A former member, as I said, of that Garda diving unit. And today, as we say, is National Missing Persons Day, and that event taking place in Croke Park.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
Get into the festive spirit with amazing Christmas value at Aldi. A choice of festive party food, including mini veggie spring rolls from just 99 cents. From December 20th, Board Bia quality assured 100% Irish turkeys from just $8.99. They'll fly out the door. And Elite Mikado biscuits now only $7.99. Save €5. Save a couple for me while you're at it. Aldi, have a cracking Christmas. Biscuit offer available until December 4th and quantity restrictions apply while stocks last.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house, not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse. In war-torn lands, children just want to cuddle, but their parents are buried under the rubble. Little Scylla is 4, yet she walks with a frame. A bomb took her leg, causing terrible pain. She takes a deep breath and bravely walks on. Frightened and scared, Scylla just wants her mom. In Gaza and Lebanon, in the silence between the bombs, children's nightmares rage on. UNICEF is on the ground providing life-saving food. Please donate at unicef.ie and help save children's lives. Thank you.
Give the gift of beauty and rejuvenation this Christmas with the voucher from Janice's Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore. Your loved one can choose from a range of transformative treatments, including PDO thread lifts and skin boosters designed to improve facial contours by lifting and tightening the skin. Also offering fat-dissolving treatments, dermal fillers and laser treatments for all skin concerns. Christmas party hair and makeup packages available. Secure your voucher at Janice's Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Edore on 07495 325 75.
Spoil someone with a beautiful fragrance this Christmas from McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Choose by designer, budget or celebrity. Top names like Clarins, Burberry, Gucci and Dolce & Gabbana. Also great prices on Calvin Klein, Flower Bomb and so many more. The best fragrant gift sets available this year can also be found in McGee's Chemist Main Street Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie. McGee's, where the best costs less.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Just want to remind you of our competition in association with the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa. We're giving you the chance to win a Pamper Me Please package. It's worth €130. You can win a 2.5-hour spa package, and it includes, just wait for this, an aromatic steam session and cocoon room, a hot towel foot and back cleanse, a stress-relieving back massage, a Yonka facial with face and scalp massage, a pressure point foot massage, and snooze room relaxation time with refreshments. And to be in a chance of winning that prize on Friday, just please answer this question. Which Christmas song mentions a one-horse open sleigh? Is it A, Jingle Bells, or B, White Christmas? And text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 20 5000. Now, time for our Wellness Wednesday spot, and today we are talking about Crohn's and colitis. This is Crohn's and Colitis Awareness Week, and we're joined on Zoom, I'm delighted to say, by Lorraine Cooney. And Lorraine is a gastroenterology dietitian and author of the Crohn's and Colitis Diet Information and Recipe book. And Lorraine, it's great to speak to you. Good morning.
Hi there. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
It's our pleasure. Now, Crohn's and colitis, it's a condition, basically people with inflammatory bowel disease, irritable bowel disease, you hear it called as well. I mean, they're all, I will say, under the same sort of umbrella. But tell us about Crohn's and colitis and what those conditions actually involve.
Yeah, these are chronic inflammatory conditions that impact the bowel. They come under the umbrella of inflammatory bowel disease, which actually is distinctly different from irritable bowel syndrome or IBS, although they sound very alike.
Yeah.
So the inflammation will happen in the bowel. For Crohn's disease, it can be anywhere from the mouth entry into your digestive system to the exit. And for people with colitis, ulcerative colitis, it really just involves the large intestine, any segment of that. They kind of have sometimes similar symptoms like the abdominal pain, diarrhea, fatigue, and other symptoms that might affect your body. You just don't feel well. You might have achy joints. You might feel nauseous, for example. But like a wide varied impact on the body, and they can go through different phases. Sometimes you're in remission when there's no inflammation, and sometimes you're in a flare where you're actively inflamed in the bowel. They're primarily medically managed, so most people will need to take medication day to day to keep that inflammation at bay. And the reason why we're highlighting what Crohn's and colitis have done recently is that we've written a book to kind of highlight the diet and lifestyle aspects of managing these diseases to sort of fill that gap for people who want that information.
Is it a case that each individual will have different triggers, each individual will have different reactions to different foods, or is it possible to say it can be triggered by X food and it can be triggered by Y food, and you're better off if you concentrate on eating A, B and C?
Yeah, no, it would be easy for people if they could really identify what flares the condition, because they would 100% avoid that one thing, but it's a lot more complex than that. These are conditions with an interplay of genetics, environmental factors, and your microbiota, which are these trillions of microbes that reside in the bowel, and they kind of protect the gut lining. And so it's very hard to deduce kind of what does cause a flare or what keeps somebody in remission. So what we did is try and pull the evidence base of what we do know can help people. And what appears to be important is to eat maybe more variety of plant-based foods, so like grains, fruit, vegetables, those types of foods that a lot of people with IBD may kind of be fearful of or have been told before not to eat. So there's this difficulty there in knowing that. And then sometimes there's more obvious triggers, like if you drank a lot of strong coffee or alcohol or high-fat foods, you might notice maybe more of an immediate effect. But it can be just so different for different people, and what helps one person may not help the other. So it can be, a lot of trial and error actually to find out what suits each person.
Is there evidence that the higher concentration of processed foods in our diet these days is having an impact? Maybe 50 years ago, we'd have been much more likely to eat fresh fish. Now we're much more likely to eat fish fingers.
I know, yeah. So there's a lot of interest in this area. Unfortunately, we're still waiting on the human trials to confirm it, but we would think that processed foods is not a good idea for people with inflammatory bowel disease because it may impact that lining in the intestine. And so we would advise to limit processed and packaged foods. And if we look at a lot of the restrictive diets out there, that's what they have in common. They kind of avoid anything that's really processed. And that maybe, we're thinking it probably is helpful, but we're just waiting on the trials. But if we used to put on a sensible hat and be healthcare professionals, we know that it's not a great idea to have a lot of those foods in our diets. Unfortunately, they do make up a big component of a lot of people's diets these days. So thinking maybe more what you can have rather than what you can't have. And so I would be thinking you need good quality protein, like lean meats or eggs or pulses. You need some healthy fats, like, use your olive oil, use avocado, maybe a small amount of nuts and seeds, and then you have more plant-based foods, so colour in your diet, fruit and vegetables, grains, maybe some pulses, and that combination of those foods tends to be seen as protective and helpful for a lot of people now with inflammatory bowel disease.
Now, I have something here. It says, what causes diverticulitis? Now, I know there's diverticular disease and diverticulitis, which I take it is slightly different from ulcerative colitis. Yeah, I mean... And from that point of view, is it possible to say what causes colitis?
No, we don't know. It's a complex interplay between genetics. So if you have sort of a gene in your body, you may be more susceptible. The microbiota, that's the trillions of microbes. These are mostly bacteria in your large intestine. And there's so many of these, trillions and trillions, there are a lot of zeros. And it seems to be an imbalance of these microbes in the gut that may, allow more pathogens or bad bacteria to kind of multiply down there. That can be an impact. Poor diets, we think there's a link with poor diets. That would be the processed foods or not eating fibre, which would be those plant-based foods. Maybe things like stress and anxiety, but they don't cause inflammatory bowel disease. They can just make things worse.
And in terms of fibre, is it the case that people need to have a higher fibre diet or take fibre supplements? Now, I know there's one, is it fibre gel it's called, and it's a bit like sort of drinking sludge. It's, are supplements like that good? I mean, should people that have Crohn's or colitis be looking at things like those fibre supplements just to build it up, or would it be better just to eat more high fibre foods?
Yeah, that fibre gel is the ingredient is psyllium husks. It's a beautiful fibre and it can be very helpful for regulating stools. Um, but I would focus on getting the foundation right. So I know from meeting people with inflammatory bowel disease, they don't eat enough fibre, and a lot of people are scared of fibre, and they've often been told to follow a low fibre diet, but never been told to come off the low fibre diet when things are a little bit more settled. So when you're in a flare, you probably, you might be losing weight, you don't have an appetite, you've all these symptoms, you're trying medication, you can feel really, really horrible, and it can be a difficult time. You might even need surgery. But when you come out of that spell, it's really important to try and increase fibre nice and slowly in your diet. Sometimes people may need extra fibre, but there's a sweet spot for everybody. And I think it's not too high and not too low. It's somewhere in the middle. And the variety of different plant-based foods tends to be a marker of how we get a better balance of these microbes in the gut. And this can be hard, but we try and include this in the book that's just been published by Crohn's and Colitis Ireland, and ways that we can try and slowly and gradually increase fibre in the diet, and not to be scared of it, and knowing that you can adapt the textures. So if you use like well-cooked meals, like particularly like a stew or a bolognese or a curry, they're soft and moist meals. Or even if you can't do it that way, you can start blending, you can make soups or smoothies, and we've given lots of ideas and tips and recipes for that in the book. And that seems to be the message that's coming through across the world with all the researchers and experts in inflammatory bowel disease, that more variety of these plant-based foods is helpful. It doesn't necessarily mean supplements, but if you have support of a dietitian, you may be able to, navigate that as well.
Sometimes in the food sector, we see advertisements that make, I won't say they make claims, but they make very strong suggestions. For instance, we're told in one product that there's a difference between good bacteria and bad bacteria, and if you consume this product, you'll be putting good bacteria into your body. I mean, is there any basis to claims like that by taking certain drinks or certain yogurts or whatever that you're putting good bacteria into your body, and or are these just advertising ploys, as it were?
Yeah, there's a bit of truth and a bit of marketing going on there. I think some of these fermented foods like yogurt, I think that can be helpful, but they're live bacteria that you'll be putting into your gut. They may be helpful, but you already have a balance of microbes down there, so they won't make a big dent in the kind of composition of what you have. And the other ones you're talking about are probiotics. So these are strains of probiotics that are kind of packaged into maybe like a capsule or a tablet, and you can take one a day, and that's supposed to confer an effect. We know that they're particularly helpful in irritable bowel syndrome, which is IBS, not IBD. And for some people with ulcerative colitis, probiotics can be helpful, but we don't see the same with Crohn's disease. And the thing is that there's thousands of strains out there, and a lot of the products aren't that great. So you've got to be very clued into what the evidence says, of which strains actually work in which condition, and then try that one for you. So it's a bit of a minefield in that area, but it can be helpful for colitis, but not Crohn's.
Lorraine, can I take on a caller? Because I have Janice on the line from Buncrana. Janice, good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Donal?
Very well indeed, thanks. Janice, I have Lorraine here. If you want to tell
Hello,
Lorraine your story
Hello,
and put your question to her.
I was diagnosed in 1998 having Crohn's. I have it a long time now. And I've had 5 bowel resections.
Okay.
I've been on Fleximab, I've on Humira, I've been on Entyvio. I have now found Stelara, and I've been on it a year, and it seems to have put back on a bit of weight and kind of settled things down a bit. But in the meantime, I found out I'm celiac and lactose, and I found even just taking the lactose out of my diet has made a huge difference. And in just saying, like 27 years, I would have been very, very sick, a lot of weight at the start very quickly. And I'd actually lost half my body weight at one stage. My son, the pregnancy brought it to a head. And for people like myself, I find the mobility has gotten very bad over the past while. And just where would I go? I have a fantastic bowel nurse in Letterkenny, Cathy, and I have a fantastic gastro doctor, Dr. Steele. And it's just not even to ask a question, just for I think excuse me, more availability, especially I hear you talked about the leaflet. It'd be fantastic because we still hold the first documentation book. It was written by Professor Gleeson in Dublin years ago, and I held on to it for all these years. And once you can have something to explain to family and friends or let them read it themselves, they're all kind of on the one sheet then.
Yeah, you've been through an awful lot, and I'm glad you have medication that's maintaining your symptoms at the moment, and you have a great team. That's fantastic to hear. Maybe you'd be interested in the book that's just been published by Crohn's and Colitis Ireland, which has maybe 15 chapters of information of navigating not just diet, but life in general, and trying to live your best life and have confidence in eating and enjoying food, and just a lot of practical tips. And then we've over 60 recipes, and that will
Getting the
bring through
quality of
different
life
phases.
back, I found.
Yeah, that's ultimately that's what we're trying to do as healthcare professionals.
When I got my quality of life back, but just at the moment now, I would say that the mobility isn't great, and I just like to sit at home, practice your hands, keep your feet, do as much as you can on the days that you feel so fatigued. There still might be the odd time, maybe once a month now, it gets 2 or 3 days that I'm solid in bed. I can't get up the energy levels through the ground, everything. But just to advise the listeners, it's not the worst thing in the world to be diagnosed. There's plenty of support, plenty of help out there. It's a lot better now than what it was when I was diagnosed, and I'm glad times have changed. And it's nice to hear someone talking about Crohn's, and I just text in.
Well, Janice, thank you very much indeed for texting in, and it's great to hear that things are going better, and hopefully that will remain the case. Janice, you look after yourself, and all the best.
I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the
Janice,
call,
you take care.
Thank you, Lorraine. Take care.
Right, Janice, bye-bye now. Lorraine, a caller says pineapple contains bromelain, which has great healing properties for the intestines. Would you concur?
Yeah, you could make that argument, but you can't just focus on one food. We know that the sign of gut health, you want this buzzword called diversity of gut microbes, and you get that from eating a diversity of plant-based foods, not focusing on one food. So it's all the fruits, all the vegetables, all the grains, all the nuts, seeds, pulses.
And presumably each individual will eventually get to know their own body, and it may be the case that for one person, pineapple is, I won't say a silver bullet because nothing is going to be a silver bullet in this case, but pineapple might be something that particularly helps them. For somebody else, it mightn't be pineapple, but it might be, for the sake of argument, melon. For somebody else, it might be apple. For somebody else, it might be banana. That each person, given their own particular circumstance, will find their own particular, I was going to say comfort food, but I don't want to say comfort food because that suggests something else, but their own particular food that they feel is almost their happy food that they can go to, and maybe it gives them a boost that it's not going to give somebody else.
Exactly. And you want a wide range of these happy foods. You want to find what you can tolerate and expand your diet as much as possible, but not to the point where it's triggering. So you want to keep symptoms at bay. So even, if you're in remission, you do suffer a lot with profuse maybe diarrhea and awful pain and nausea, for example. And during those times, you may have to restrict your diet a little bit or change things. But when you're in remission, you need to expand those foods and find which foods do make you feel good day to day. So it's about feeling good, having freedom to eat, and managing your symptoms.
The book, Lorraine, it's an interesting one. It's just tell us briefly about the book, its title, and how people can get it.
Yeah, so the book is produced by Crohn's and Colitis Ireland. It's called Diet Information Recipe Book. You can find it on their website, www.crohnscolitis.ie. It's €10 for members and €20 for non-members. Crohn's and Colitis Ireland also have a support line on 01531 2983. Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9:30 to 12:30, which is really helpful for people who may have a question or maybe feel unsupported, that they can contact the charity. They do amazing work. They have lots of webinars, resources. So just log on to the website and you'll find all the information there.
And another important thing is that as far as the book is concerned, also tips for eating out. And I'm sure eating out, if you've got Crohn's or colitis, can be a minefield.
Absolutely. Most people will avoid eating out because of the nature of their condition and what they have to deal with. But we want to maybe break down that barrier and see how people can navigate that and feel more empowered to make the right decisions for them.
Lorraine Cooney, gastroenterology dietitian and author of the Crohn's and Colitis Diet Information and Recipe Book. There's a mouthful. Thanks very much indeed, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Okay, Lorraine, and hopefully that perspective has helped some people out there today, and I'm sure it has. We're going to a break. Back with the weather after these.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today. Buncrana Golf Club Charity Bingo will take place in the Inishowen Gateway Hotel, Buncrana, this Thursday, 5th of December, in association with Buncrana Children's Charity. €3,000 must go on the night, including €1,000 to be won on the last house. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. That's Buncrana Golf Club Charity Bingo at the Inishowen Gateway on Thursday, 5th of December.
There's something about this time of year that makes you want to be near all the things that remind you of your favourite Christmas. When you get that warm and fuzzy feeling, you want to be near the people you love and the things you love. So where better to get that Christmas feeling than Letterkenny Shopping Centre. There's free parking, extended opening hours and great gifts for everyone on your list. Add in a visit to Santa, you'll have Christmas all wrapped up. Letterkenny Shopping Centre. Christmas just around the corner.
Who's supplying the magic at Lidl this year?
Hi, I'm David Brett from Oak Park. It's our 15th year supplying Christmas hams to all of Lidl's customers. We select Board Bia quality assured Irish pork. We naturally smoke them using beechwood chips.
Board Bia approved Irish ham joints from $9.99. Wishing you a magical Christmas with Lidl.
Oh, would you believe I'm phoning this radio ad in from my Christmas sea swim? I'm calling from my smartwatch because only Vodafone's one number keeps my smartwatch connected without my phone nearby. So I've got a connection I can always rely on everywhere. Okay, here we go. Feel that freedom! Only with Vodafone one number! Whew.
This Christmas, get an Apple Watch Series 10 with one number connectivity for just €27 a month. Pop in store for more. Vodafone. Together we can.
Offer ends December 31st, 2024. Compatible powered on smartphone, smartwatch and 24-month contract required. Eligibility, limitations and terms apply. See vodafone.ie/terms.
Highland Radio weather updates with McElhenney's. Find the perfect present for everyone on your list this festive season. Discover the joy of gifting and make Christmas magical with McElhenney's Ballybuffet. Visit us in-store or online at mcelhenneys.com.
Looking at the weather forecast, mostly cloudy but dry apart from a few scattered showers for a time. I do beg your pardon, that's going to be tomorrow. I'm going to scroll up a bit. Sorry about that. Let's start again. Cloud continuing to build from the west with rain and drizzle spreading from the Atlantic this morning and into the afternoon. That'll continue again into the evening. It'll become windy as southerly winds increase fresh to strong and gusty. Gales for a time in western coastal parts. Milder with the rain and highest temperatures of 9 to 12 degrees Celsius. Becoming drier tonight. That rain and drizzle will clear southeastwards. Some scattered showers will follow, but clear spells as well. It'll be windy for a time, those winds veering southwesterly and moderating. Lowest overnight temperatures 5 to 7. Tomorrow mostly cloudy but dry apart from some scattered showers, but outbreaks of showery rain will spread through the area in the morning. Some of that will turn heavy rain, then clearing in the afternoon. A mix of sunny spells and blustery showers following, some of those heavy. And again tomorrow relatively mild actually. Top temperatures on Thursday of 8 to 11 degrees Celsius. It's just over 2 minutes to 11 o'clock. We're going to take another short break. And coming up, the headlines with Michaela.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
I am the storm that pounds for hours, for days on one side of your head. I am your migraine. Light blinds. Sound pierces. You can't escape my nausea. If you've lived with me for years, talking to your doctor may help. Learn more at migraineaware.ie, brought to you by Pfizer Healthcare Ireland.
Tesco Club Card gives you the power to more this season. Fuel the festivities ahead with Tesco finest breakfast favourites, like 100% freshly squeezed orange juice, corn-fed eggs, Irish pork sausages, white and black pudding, and Irish dry-cured rashers, any 3 for €6. Helping feed your Christmas spirit. Shop in-store or online. Tesco. Every little helps. Subject to availability. Available in most stores. Prices vary in express stores. T's and C's apply. Deposit may apply. See tesco.ie.
Hi, I'm at the Garda station, but it's nothing. I told this girl I was seeing for a while that I'd put shots of her up online. Shots she sent me, so they're mine, really. I only said I'd do it, but the guards are saying that's a crime now. It's not my fault, Mum. I didn't do anything. I only said I would.
Threatening to share intimate images is a crime with serious consequences. Contact your local Garda station if you need to report it. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Give the gift of sport this Christmas with a gift from Brian McCormick Sports. Compression tops and leggings to keep your body warm. Perfect for any outdoor sports. Swimwear, Speedo suits with matching goggles and accessories. For the hurler, new helmets in many colours with matching grips. For the active one, support your feet with new performance socks called Features. Good trainers deserve good socks. Christmas gift ideas at bmcsports.ie with next day delivery.
Are you ready for a cozy night watching the toy show? Get festive with 50% of all Christmas decor at Homeland Letterkenny. Save 50% on Christmas trees, lights, baubles, gifts and more. Shop in store and online at homeland.ie. Nationwide delivery available. Save 50% while stocks last.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. Time is 11 o'clock. Time for headlines. We say good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Donal. Good morning. Donegal County Council's budget meeting is underway at County House in Lifford. The council is to spend just over €200 million in 2025, an 8.2% increase. Members will also discuss today a proposed 4.75% increase in the ARV, which determines the level of commercial rates. Chief Executive John McLaughlin says the budget will help drive the development of the county and the wider Northwest region. The meeting is due to be adjourned for a period of 3 hours at the request of Sinn Féin members to allow them attend a funeral. The 3 largest political parties will host their first parliamentary meeting since the general election today. Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin will separately discuss government formation, with Fine Gael reportedly calling for parity of esteem, which would see a rotating Taoiseach position between Simon Harris and Micheál Martin. A delegation from Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Committee will travel to Dublin tomorrow to meet with the Housing Department officials. It's off the back of a prior meeting around 6 weeks ago in which 19 key points were raised. Many councillors yesterday told a meeting in the Inisho Municipal District that a scheme for social homes must be top of the agenda for the delegation tomorrow. The INTO's General Secretary says it's disconcerting that a Donegal teacher has been subbing for the past 6 weeks without pay. The newly qualified teacher has been struggling to secure a teacher council number in order for the Department of Education to process their payment. John Boyle says the issue would have been more prevalent in previous years. The Kreeslough Community Grant Scheme has opened. The initiative aims to enhance the memories of the victims of the October 2022 tragedy and benefits the communities affected by it. More details are available on our website, highlandradio.com. And a man is due to appear in court in Derry today, charged with a number of drug-related offences. The 36-year-old was arrested in the city overnight. He's charged with possession and supply of Class B and Class C controlled drugs. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
Flowgas do electricity too. And you can get a 24% discount and €300 welcome bonus when you switch your gas and electricity to Flowgas. That's the gas part. And the electricity part. Get our best value dual fuel bundle at flowgas.ie. Flowgas. Energy for everyone. T's and C's apply. New customers only. First year cost based on an EAB of €2,694.39. For information on charges, unit rates, standing charge, PSO and carbon tax, see flowgas.ie.
Welcome back to R3 of the 9 till noon show. During the headlines, Michaela referenced that story from earlier where we spoke to John Boyle of the INTO and the plight of the qualified teacher who doesn't have a teacher number and therefore is subbing in a classroom and is doing so as an unqualified teacher. Now, we've been told by another caller that worse still, with no teaching council number, she can only sub 4 days in a rolling week and will only be paid for 4 days. She needs to make noise to get that number ASAP. It's like listening to the election coverage. Seats need to be filled and then they might form a government before January. Well, this caller says, well, if they haven't formed a government, then don't pay them their wages until a government is in place and that might hurry them up. Interesting comment. Now, let's go to Zoom again because we are joined on Zoom by Noel McDermott. And Noel McDermott is a mental health expert and psychotherapist. And it's an important one because we are coming up to the Christmas season. And for very many of us, it's a time that we look forward to. We're going to be happy. We're going to enjoy Christmas. We're going to have a great time. For some, they look at Christmas with a sense of dread and they have what's being called festive anxiety. And Noel, good morning to you. Festive anxiety is a very real thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, particularly as the times that we've been through have been quite troubled the last few years, to sort of bring everybody together, meet everybody's needs and expectations. And sometimes because of family dynamics, which all relationships have been under pressure the last few years. It tends to be hothoused at this time of year, is, for want of a better word, is what we in psychotherapy call a highly expressed emotional environment.
And it's become one of those kind of comedy cliches. Christmas with the in-laws, Christmas with the family. My brother says this, my mother-in-law says that, and we're all going to get together and it's going to be like the Battle of the Somme where there's two trenches and there's people peeking out at each other over the trenches and who's going to go into no man's land. And it almost seems like, I mean, what are you doing to yourself mentally? I mean, you know, this is supposed to be a happy family engagement, not some kind of mental torture.
Right. That's right. Well, there are ways of managing it. And there are lots of tools and techniques. I'm going to focus a bit more on what you can do individually, but I would say more broadly that some people live in, I suppose, more dangerous family environments than others. And so the advice to them is to do a risk assessment rather than just try and think that the problem is their own anxiety. Sometimes when we feel scared, it's because the threat is real. And if the threat is real, we need to manage that. So I think it's really important to say that. In terms of general broad anxiety, there might be anxiety related to non-specific things. So it may not be the case that there are specific problems in the family, but just a sense of overwhelm that people might have, which is normal. When you've got a large event to organise, of course it's going to be challenging and difficult. And the people that don't feel any stress about it are probably living off the coattails of everybody who's doing all the work, right? So it's like, it does involve work. So if you feel a bit anxious about it, don't think there's something wrong with you. And also, it doesn't necessarily need to get in the way of the spirit of Christmas, which is about having fun and compassion and having our loved ones around us and having a nice time.
From the point of view of the anxiety, as you said, it's real. To the person who's experiencing that anxiety, it's real. Now, sometimes that anxiety may be an expression of something that in reality isn't as serious as the person may feel. And sometimes our perception of what a family gathering is going to be like is going to be way worse than what's actually going to happen. Presumably then, with that in mind, communication is going to be absolutely key. That if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling anxious, talk to people, have prior discussions, and maybe a couple of phone calls leading up to Christmas might help break that ice and reduce that pressure.
Yeah, I mean, my experience is this, to be honest. When one says, oh, I'm struggling with something, it actually gives permission to other people to voice that as well. And everybody gets a sense of relief. We can be a bit worried at times like this about saying anything that might be perceived as negative. But actually, if you turn around and you're honest about things, then everybody else steps up and says, yeah, I feel it as well. And just that sense of being part of, rather than separated off, like there's something wrong with me, I feel anxious, everybody is having a nice time. There's a saying we have, which is, don't judge your own insides by everybody else's outsides. generally most people are feeling these types of complicated human reactions to complicated human situations, which is what this festive season is. And sort of engaging with that is great. And as you say, what anxiety will do to us is it will make us catastrophize. It's a term we use in psychotherapy. So we'll see the problem as bigger than it actually is. And there's a saying, an old saying in therapy, which is, we don't run away from the bear because we're afraid of it. We're afraid of the bear because we run away from it. So you might have to repeat that to yourself a few times to understand it. So it's about saying that we can do something about this anxiety and fear by our behaviours, and one of which is help seeking, as you described. But there are some others, and we can talk about those if you wish.
Absolutely. Because it seems to me too that sometimes what we do in a situation like that is we feel inadequate and believe that we won't be able to live up to an expected standard, when that expected standard that we are feeling ourselves actually in reality doesn't really exist.
Yeah, expectation. It's a killer. You know, we often say in psychotherapy, don't we? Get rid of words like must, should, ought, all of that sort of stuff. Get rid of all of that stuff. And just engage with the fact that, you know, life is muddy and messy for humans, for all humans. The ones that pretend it's not are not really living, it's in my experience. And so muddy and messy is the norm, and that's okay. And letting people know about that is okay as well. In no way do you undermine sort of the spirit of kindness and compassion and love and celebration. There are things that you can do in terms of reducing one's felt anxiety, and if we replace the word anxiety with stress, because that's really what we're talking about, stress hormones. So when we're anxious or when we're depressed or when we're lonely, our body produces hormones that make us feel bad. It's pretty straightforward, but we can do things about changing that, managing those hormonal responses, managing those neurochemicals, and doing things that actually reduce that impact. And actually, over time, change our responses to stressors, which are the things in life that signal problem, and actually become better at it. And learning to manage stress is really, really crucial in terms of reducing the risk of all forms of illness in your life, whether it be psychological illness, whether it be physical illness, whether it be breakdown in your relationship, whether it be using too much drink, etc. So stress management is a really key thing, and understanding that when you're anxious, the physical, psychological reactions are driven by these neurochemicals, these hormones in your body, principally the cortisol, which is a hormone, and also can't think of the other one. My brain's gone dead. Adrenaline. There you go. Sort of like that was me feeling stress, and that's classically one of the things that happens is your brain stops working. So these hormones can be managed, and one of the first techniques I would teach people is what's called polyvagal theory. It's a very simple thing where our nervous system is either active or it's relaxed. And we can regulate that nervous system. So when we're anxious, what's happening is our nervous system is activated. It's up, it's high, it's ready for action.
And you get the feeling of the butterflies in the stomach and all that. And, you know, it's a feeling we've all experienced,
The increased heart rate, maybe a dry mouth, things like this. These are classic signs of anxiety. Sweaty palms ready because sweating cools our body down in times of high physical activity. So we go into what's called fight-flight mode, which is a way of dealing with threats. Now, if the threat is not an actual saber-toothed tiger, that activation generally is not very helpful, and we want to manage it. And by understanding things like polyvagal, people can check this out for themselves. We have what's called a vagus nerve, which is partly it's in the back of our throats, actually. It's really interesting. And when we breathe in through our nose, down the back of our throat with a slightly constricted throat, when we do that, we activate our nervous system. And then when we breathe out, we relax our nervous system because we're managing that nerve at the back of our throat, the vagus nerve. And there's been a lot of work done on breathing techniques. The British Army uses breathing techniques. They call a thing called box breathing, which is breathe in to 4, hold for 4, breathe out to 4, hold for 4, breathe in to 4. They call it box breathing. There's a massive number of breathing exercises that are all predicated on this ability to regulate your central nervous system simply by the way you breathe. And it is as simple as, when you breathe out, take a bit more time than when you breathe in. Try and breathe in and out through your nose. And this sounds ridiculously simple, doesn't it?
But the other side of the coin is then, as well as doing that, you're consciously focusing on your breathing. And the more you're focusing on your breathing, the less you're focusing on the perceived problem.
Absolutely, you're managing your thoughts precisely on point. And that's a sort of technique from a thing called mindful meditation. Now, people think of meditation as you have to climb up the Himalayas or something and live off a grain of rice a year, sort of transform your life. You don't. Meditation is as simple as you've described, which is breathing in and out through your nose and then thinking about your breath. And you can bring your mind to the physical experience of the breath coming in and out of your nose. And what that does, literally, is it moves your attention away from the things that are making you feel anxious into something that you know is managing your anxiety. So you're in a win-win situation now, a virtuous circle. And there's a lot of medical evidence behind this as well, that this way of being, this mindful way of being with yourself, improves your physical responses and reduces your illnesses. There's been some quite strong evidence that it even reduces your risk of things like cancer, for example, which is bonkers if you think about it. Just simply managing your breathing and managing your thinking can be absolutely transformative in terms of your health and well-being. So I would really encourage people to investigate that as a practical tool that they can bring in. And the great thing about this sort of mindful approach is that literally you can do it any way you want. Nobody knows.
Is it important to give ourselves permission to remove ourselves from a situation? As in, we say to ourselves, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. But I mean, if we say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to do it, and if it's going pear-shaped, if I'm not happy, if I'm not comfortable, I'll say, excuse me, and I will leave. And if we give ourselves an escape route, paradoxically, the need for the escape route will reduce.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to say I would go a bit further. I would plan the escape.
Fair enough.
On the basis of, when you do a fire practice drill, so it will just happen automatically. I definitely do it all the time, without a doubt. I always say that I can choose to leave, and I know how I'm going to leave as well. And people may want to extend that in terms of if there's a known difficulty in family gatherings, maybe you don't want to stay in that person's house, but you want to book yourself into a B&B or a hotel or something like that. Make sure you do take your car, etc. But as you say, knowing that you can leave reduces your anxiety about being stuck. And the idea that we have choice and are empowered to make choices really, really does improve our psychological outlook on life. And there's been plenty of research that has shown that feeling empowered in a situation improves your responses to those situations. So literally, two people can have exactly the same experience, but one like life event, but one experiences it very differently because they feel more empowered within that life event, and they're doing what they can to support themselves. And so that type of approach is really, really important. And you're definitely not betraying anybody by recognizing that you have needs and that those needs are important. You need to meet them.
The other side of the coin is that Christmas somehow amplifies everything. And what I use in conversations like this is the example of a Christmas dinner. I could quite happily in April or in June cook a turkey on a Sunday for the Sunday roast. It's very straightforward. I'll cook mashed potatoes, roast potatoes. I'll do a few carrots, a bit of broccoli. I'll do a bit of ham, and I'll make the gravy, and I'll roast the turkey, and we'll do it, and we'll sit down and we'll eat it. And that was a lovely dinner. Suddenly, Christmas, it becomes this big, huge event. It's exactly the same dinner. It's exactly the same cooking process. But now, because it's Christmas, suddenly it's been amplified into something with a much deeper meaning. And somehow that sort of makes us think that cooking Christmas, I personally don't see how cooking Christmas dinner is any more difficult than cooking a roast on any other Sunday. Unless, of course, you feel the need, I have to do 7 different types of potatoes and 6 different carrot-based dishes. No, you don't. You do 2, mash and roast.
Yes. Well, I'd say a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to invite myself over to your Sunday dinner. That's delicious. So expect a guest.
It's going to be very straightforward.
I'll be eating it with you, don't worry. The second thing I'd say is, yes, absolutely. The way we frame in psychotherapy and psychology, we talk about how we frame things in our mind. The framing that we put around something really affects our emotional responses to it. And we have this thing called normalization. When we can normalize something, when we can say, well, that's just expected, actually our heightened emotional responses get reduced. Now, there is a weight of expectation around all festivals, and a weight of expectation around the idea that these festivals, whatever they are somehow magically going to cut through whatever the complicated relationships are that we have with other people. And of course they don't. What they do is they compress, they amplify, they add sort of more emotional material into whatever fire might exist anyway. And particularly when you think about it, something like this, it's not unexpected that it might have more sort of stress associated with it, because actually you're inviting maybe people to the meal that you don't often see, and there might be good reasons why you don't often see them. But there's an expectation that you will get together, even though you might spend a lot of the rest of the year preceding that trying to avoid somebody. But also there are real pressures on families that we've been going through for some time. And this time of year, it's really important people understand that this time of year, because of that sort of pressure that is applied by society, often sees an increase. So if you have an underlying condition, whether that's you have an unhealthy relationship to drink, or you have an eating disorder, or you already have a condition such as anxiety or depression, you may relapse in your healthy habits around those disorders at this time of year. And it's very common, very common. And so if you've got specific issues such as that, it is really important to plan as though you're going to be triggered and look at your extra support needs. And that may be what's going on. And we understand these things. If we understand the reality of it, we can plan for it. If we plan for something with our specific support needs, we're less likely to have a relapse. We're less likely to sort of walk into something unawares and find ourselves sort of falling into a pit. And that we can avoid the pitfalls, as they say, and we can plan realistically for it.
Noel McDermott, it's been a pleasure speaking to you this morning. And if there's one takeaway from this, breathing can be the most important thing you'll do if you do it properly over Christmas. Noel, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much indeed.
All right, mate. Merry Christmas to you.
And happy Christmas to you too. That's Noel McDermott there. He's a mental health expert and psychotherapist talking about festive anxiety and how to survive it. And I don't want to appear like this is a really clunky link, but I just want to remind you of our competition in association with the Silver Tassie Hotel and Seascape Spa. They're giving you a chance to win their Pamper Me Please package. It's a luxurious 2.5-hour spa package. It includes an aromatic steam session and cocoon room, a hot towel foot and back cleanse, a stress-relieving back massage, a Yonka facial with face and scalp massage, a pressure point foot massage, and snooze room relaxation time with refreshments. To win, just tell us which Christmas song mentions a one-horse open sleigh. Is it Jingle Bells or White Christmas? Text or WhatsApp your answer, name and address to 086 60 20 5000. Back in a bit.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio. The 9 till Noon Show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Donegal at night. It's vibrant, it's diverse, it's ours. Let's be safe and sound. Whether you're out for dinner, a show, a match, or just a stroll, we all play a part in creating a safe and enjoyable atmosphere. Let's look out for each other. Keep our streets clean. Have fun. Let's keep Donegal a place where everyone feels welcome and respected. Let's be safe and sound. This ad was brought to you by Donegal County Council and is an initiative of the Buncrannon Nighttime Economy.
Have your eye on something at McElhinney's department store this festive season? Start dropping hints now with the help of our wishlist service. Simply heart it to create your own wishlist online or ask a member of staff in-store and make things easier than ever for Santa this Christmas with McElhinney's.
Your home is likely the most expensive decision you'll ever make. The Property Services Regulatory Authority is here to protect you. When you're bidding, buying or renting, should things go wrong with your auctioneer, sales or letting agent. So you can make sure that the most expensive decision you'll ever make doesn't end up costing you more than it should. To learn more about your PSRA consumer protections, visit psr.ie. A message from the Property Services Regulatory Authority.
The Private Security Authority is the government body responsible for regulating the private security industry. Every day, licensed security services protect billions of euros worth of goods and ensure the safety and security of thousands of people and businesses. When choosing a security service for your home or business, choose one licensed by the Private Security Authority. If you choose an unlicensed security provider, you could face prosecution. Visit psa-gov.ie for more information and a list of licensed security services.
Shekelatha ama Highland Radio. Arna Dortugad ag Airgrid. Uproar agus forbor an go letrahas na Héireann. Airgrid. Pobl a guachtu, era a guachtu. Teshe.
Chuig no méid thresh a hendeig. It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. I just want to answer a question because we've had a call from a listener saying I was listening to the discussion on the book, the diet book for those with Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Could you please repeat the name of the book? I certainly can. The book it's the Crohn's and Colitis Diet Information and Recipe Book. It's available through the Crohn's website. And the author of the book is Lorraine Cooney, and Lorraine is the one that we got to speak to on the programme this morning. So if you go into the Crohn's website, and you'll be able to get the details of the book there. So it's the Crohn's and Colitis Diet Information and Recipe Book. So that's how you can get through it. Speaking about festive anxiety just a moment ago, caller says, I love Christmas but hate being in a very toxic environment. My parents' home is lovely but my husband's family home is brutal. We made an agreement to go to each house in turn till we had children. How do I convince my husband his parents' home is not a good place for him or for me? So asks a caller, and if you have any perspective to give our caller, please let us know. There are icons in music, and across every genre of music and across every style of music, there are icons. And when it comes to Irish music, there are none more iconic, in my view, than Mary Coughlan. And Mary Coughlan is celebrating her 40th anniversary, and as part of that ongoing celebration, she's performing her 40th anniversary gig in Angrainen Theatre in Letterkenny on tomorrow night week, Thursday the 12th of December. Delighted to say that Mary Coughlan joins us on Zoom. Mary, a very good morning to you. Mary, I think you might still be muted. I see the little red mic beside your name there on the screen in front of me. So
I'm
I have
unmuted
you. I have you.
myself.
Oh, lovely. You're unmuted. And that's the proper way to be. Mary Coughlan should never be muted and should never have been muted over the course of the past 40 years. Mary, hard to believe it's 40 years. I mean, what a career.
I know, yeah. I was I did the Olympia Theatre the other night, and my family were there and my grandchildren. Previously, my parents had been there and my children 40 years ago when I did my first ever Olympia Theatre show 40 years ago. So yeah, it's hard to believe, but it was probably better. I don't know. It's been amazing 40 years, and I'm so grateful to be still here and doing it and all that.
I had the pleasure of speaking to you. Well, pleasure maybe is the wrong word given the context. We spoke over the course of COVID, and then we spoke afterwards about Spotify and payments from Spotify, and you were on along with Matt. And I remember telling you at the time, and I will repeat it. I mean, I remember way back, I was working on a pirate radio station in Limerick and pirates in Cork and Waterford as well. And over the course of that period in the mid-'80s, one of the songs I played frequently was Double Cross, and I still regard it as one of the top 10 songs this country ever produced. An amazing piece of music from the Tired and Emotional album. In many cases, someone will bring out an album like Tired and Emotional, bring out a song like Double Cross, and then it stops. But in your case, it's gone on and on and on, and you're as strong now as you were back then.
Yeah, I mean, and I've started to write more of my own stuff, which is great. I worked, as you probably know, most of my life with Eric Fischer.
Yeah.
He was a Dutch composer who came to live in Ireland. I did the first album with him. He wrote for me and he produced all the albums. Eric has Parkinson's now and he's unable to play the guitar or do much. But he did travel with his son from Holland on Friday for the Olympia. He came over on Thursday for the Olympia Theatre on Sunday night. So I work now with Pete Lannister, whom I wrote, that album I did, Uncertain Pleasures, like Invisible was on it and Man of the World. So I've gone back to Pete for the last 2 albums and they've been really successful. Even though we are in a time of Spotify and all that, I've done really well. And it's strange to say, but all of the concerts that I did in COVID, especially from the house and my garden, have had the effect of increasing my audience at home and abroad. I went to Australia last year and New Zealand. I did 28 concerts and I had to do 2 and 3 instead of 1 in Sydney, Brisbane and Melbourne because they'd sold out. And it was people who had seen me probably for the first time, which is really weird, online during COVID.
And they were actual Aussies themselves, because usually
they were Aussies themselves.
Excellent, because usually what happens is someone like you goes to Australia, you spend your entire time in Australia playing to expats, playing to Irish people, you meet people from Galway, Mayo, Donegal, Waterford, Cork, Limerick, Roscommon, Westmeath, and you could nearly go home having spent your time exclusively speaking to Irish people and hardly ever meeting an Aussie.
No, in my case, it's weird because the first time I sold, just to drop a name here, the first time I sold out the Sydney Opera House,
Say that again, Mary, it sounds good. The first time you sold out where?
Time I sold out the Sydney Opera House. I asked them because I was curious and they said that it was 80% of their usual clientele, which would be a mixture of tourists and Sydney natives that have year-long membership to the Opera House for the concerts. Nowadays, I think it's a lot younger, the people that go to Australia. But the last time I was in Australia, I kept running into people who were over for either weddings of their children, and they would have been my age group, or the birth of their grandchildren. So that's a whole new take on what's going on in Australia. I'm now meeting the grandparents of people who've moved out there, in the past 20 years. But there you go. It's great. Anyway, whoever comes, the gigs are all brilliant.
One of the characteristics of your career has been that you're uncompromising. And you were uncompromising from the start. And that's been key to your success. And you've had that success largely on your own terms. Obviously, there have been hurdles to overcome. But how important has it been to you that over the course of that 40 years, you've always remained true to yourself?
I think that's been, I think that's true. I suppose over the years, I don't know, I've been asked to be, I've been asked several times to change my producer to maybe be more kind of popular music. I've always kind of stuck to my guns and done the songs like, the Magdalene Laundry and the Johnny Doohan song, The Whiskey Didn't Kill the Pain. There was a lot of grief when record companies didn't want me to sing those songs, but I did stick to my guns. And for it, I was punished. I got dropped straight away afterwards by the record company, but I persevered on my own. And I suppose I suppose in that way I have been uncompromising about my material and about my musical style, you know.
And even right back in the 80s, you were writing songs like My Land Is Too Green, which, you know, is an absolutely fantastic song, but also has a very clear message and a message that says, look, this is the situation we're in, and I'm not going to sit up here and sing the 40 Shades of Green and be the Irish performer that some people might want me to be. I'm proud of being Irish, but we ain't without our faults, and I'm going to put that on the page and you know, do it straightforwardly.
Yeah, but I'm very pleased about that. There was a concert in the Mansion House for the late Nell McCafferty on the 2 weeks ago, and all of the journalists, whoever spoke out about such stuff, and Nell was very, very vociferous, and she wrote constantly about troubles in Ireland from the 70s on. But journalists like Olivia O'Leary and people stood up and read out her interviews, or not her interviews, her articles that she had written in the Irish Times and various newspapers down through the years. And they invited me to sing some of those songs that I had sung through the 80s and the 90s. So that was really a big privilege for me. So yeah, I've always done, Johnny Mulhern wrote that incredible song about the Magdalen laundries.
Mm-hmm.
We've written about drug addiction, the Ice Cream Man, you know, everything. That's another Johnny Mulhern song. And I did them all at the Olympia the other night, and I will be doing them in Letterkenny. And I think I've probably told you before, but my name is Mary Doherty. I'm from Donegal originally.
You have indeed. And a lot of people were surprised to hear that.
Yeah, I am. My father was Peter Doherty from up in Burnfoot. So I'm a red-headed Doherty.
Well, we'll all be delighted to welcome you home, Mary, on tomorrow week, the 12th of December. As you said, it's going to be a gig of new material, old material, the stuff you've gone through the years. And before we go any further, by the way, you did reference that The Whiskey Doesn't Kill the Pain was written by Johnny Doohan, and I know the loss of Johnny last month in Galway is one that you, as many others, would have felt in the music industry and far beyond.
Yes, yeah, Johnny. The funny thing about that song was Johnny sent me 2 songs, and the 2 songs were okay, but we found that they were very similar. And Eric suggested to him, he didn't like the idea at first. I remember having a cup of tea with him. We suggested that we would make 2 songs into one great song, and that's what we did. And he was very pleased with the outcome in the end. And it sold. It was on my biggest selling album of all time. So, and that was long before Spotify. So I suppose he made a few bob out of it as well. So that's great.
Excellent. Mary, the gig, as we say, it's the 40th anniversary gig. It's in Grainan Theatre on next Thursday. It's the 12th of December. I mean, I'm sure there's very few people out there that are not, that aren't familiar with your music. But just in case anybody isn't, we're going to say goodbye to you, Mary, and we're going to give people just a little taste of your music. So as we say goodbye to Mary Doherty from Burnfoot, otherwise known as Mary Coughlan, closely associated with Galway, but really from Donegal, let the truth be known. Mary, we wish you all the best. It'll be lovely to see you in Grainan. Anytime I've seen you live, it's been absolutely incredible. And if people are wondering what to expect, let's give them a taste of Invisible to You. Mary Coughlan.
Oh, thanks a million.
Thank you very much indeed. Here's Mary Coughlan.
Look forward to it. Bye.
Bye now.
You couldn't have heard me fall, and you never knew, though I did everything I could do, 'cause I was invisible to you. Oh, I was invisible to you. Oh, I was invisible to you.
Mary Coughlan, Invisible to You. Final reminder of our Cadbury Secret Santa feature that's taking place all this week. They have 22,000 bars to give away to celebrate the return of the Secret Santa. We have 2 huge hampers of chocolate to give away, plus a €50 voucher every day to be won. All you need to do is tell us who you would want to surprise with a Secret Santa bar this year. Why do they deserve it? Just give us a text. Let us know what reason you have to surprise someone with a Secret Santa bar from Cadbury. You can win €50 and also be into the draw to win a Cadbury hamper for you and your nominee. All with thanks to Cadbury Secret Santa. And don't forget, if you want to send a bar to someone in secret, look out for the special posters around the county. And you can text or WhatsApp us on 086 60 25,000 with the name of your nominee and the reason why you are nominating them. I want to mention just briefly business matters. Now, there was not a business matter day as usual on Sunday, and it will be the same one as was covered by Chris last week. But the election pretty much took care of everything. A few comments. Caller says, I take Simproof, which is available in health shops. It's the best thing I ever took for Crohn's and colitis. And just to repeat what Lorraine said when we spoke to her, absolutely, if you find something that helps you, by all means take it. We can never assume that something that helps us helps everybody else, but certainly if you found something that works for you, share the information by all means. And Simproof is the name of that product that our caller is taking. Another caller says, I've just been diagnosed with ulcerative colitis on infusions. I find the people at work are not very understanding, particularly when I have to take time off with a flare-up or after my infusions. And I suppose that's one of those cases where dialogue in the workplace is really, really important. And the workplace does have a responsibility to provide a working environment and to provide support for people who need it, I would have thought. This is one which I'm going to put out there, and if anyone can offer any advice and perspective on this. A listener says, I'm nearly 5 years separated from my abusive ex-husband. My child and I had to leave the home and my belongings because of this abuse. I'm 3 years with legal aid trying to get a separation agreement and settlement sorted and also divorce. My ex-husband does not cooperate with any of it. His new partner is now selling my belongings on Facebook and refuses to take them down when I explained to her that they are mine. I'm totally bewildered with this hopeless situation. Have any of your listeners any advice? I'm getting nowhere, unfortunately, with legal aid. He's just doing whatever he wants. If anyone can offer any perspective or advice to our listener, please do so. A hedge on the road beside me, a caller says, has been very nicely cut back. However, quite a lot of cuttings are lying on the footpath, rendering it very dangerous to walk on. I'm a disabled woman and find it impossible to walk there anymore. Who is responsible for clearing up this dangerous mess? The county council, the hedge owner, or the person who cut the hedge? My immediate thought would be that if it's a hedge on a private property that's been cut, the responsibility, I would have thought, would lie with the owner of the hedge. However, I am no expert and I have no legal training or specialist legal knowledge, so I couldn't really answer that question. I would have thought it's the owner, and I just wonder, is it possible just to have a quiet word with the owner and say, look, I'm concerned about this, please clear it. Caller says, this is my first Christmas on my own after a divorce. How do I assure others that I'm okay being alone and I don't want to be in a house full of couples? That's I think, talk to them, tell people, let family members know, yes, I'm fine, and sometimes that's all that's necessary. A caller has sent us some pictures they took on a walk this week on the Greenway at Muff. The litter that's been thrown around, and they say this is only a fraction of what's there. I mean, there's wonderful work being done on greenways. There's wonderful work being done on providing pathways and walking ways. And as someone who would walk pretty much daily, it's wonderful to see these greenways and pathways. I really, really think that anyone that compromises that by littering is no. It's no. Please don't do it. Please. Caller says, I don't know, is it time for a referendum on Irish citizenship? Should we stop granting Irish citizenship so regularly? That's a question that's being put out there. Indirect advertising on the soaps every night on the TV, all before the watershed, not setting good example. This happens in the UK too. On Panorama on BBC One last week, they showed high rates of women suffering liver disease due to heavy drinking and alcohol abuse. That goes back to our conversation earlier in the show with Paula Leonard. We were talking about the prices and how a person saw a price advertised of $4.50 and ended up paying something like $6.80. Caller says, I have an issue with the shops advertising drinks prices without the government tax included or displayed. If I buy something at $4.50 but at the till it was $6.80, I could be left unable to pay for it and be embarrassed if I pay for petrol. The VAT's included in the price. It's not added after I go to purchase it. Why is the drinks tax not operating the same way? Now, the figures might be slightly different, but I have potentially a perspective on this. I think what this may be a reference to, and I stress may be a reference to, and I have no knowledge that it is this the 15 cent a can or 25 cent a bottle return tax, which is effectively that we pay the 15 cent and then get it back when we put the bottle or the can into a machine? Because I do know that if you go to a supermarket or whatever, you will see the price, a pallet of cans, €10 or 5 bottles for €5 or whatever, and then underneath that in little, in tiny lettering, it'll say 10 cans, €10, and then underneath it'll say $11.50 with return tax, and that'll be in tiny print that you can't read and would need a magnifying glass and a pair of binoculars to actually find. That could be the case, and it's an absolutely fair point, caller. I think in this country, anyone goes to the US, in the US they will actually, you'll get, you'll see a price, and I got caught badly. The first time I was in the US, I was in the airport in New York and I had a few bits of spare change in my pocket, and I said, right, I'm going to go. And I picked 2 bars of chocolate and whatever it was, Hershey's or something. And I went and I had the exact change, and I was so proud of myself. Here we go. It's going to cost me whatever, $1.12. And I had exactly $1.12, went to the till, and it was actually $1.30 because I hadn't factored in the tax. I ended up having to break a $10 note and create even more change. Caller says, I rang an insurance company to get a quote for home insurance. I got it, no issue. I rang another company and they are insisting on me telling them who I'm with before they give me a quote. They said, we don't quote against sister companies. Is this not like operating a cartel, and is it legal? Any advice? Interesting one. I hadn't thought of that before. Disability benefit, caller says, should not be means tested for disabled people. They may have savings, but they're supposed to help them live, so the state is neglecting them. Caller says, your coverage of the election was amazing. I enjoyed every minute of it. I didn't miss a minute of it until you went off the air in the early hours of Monday morning. It amazed me how one group of people could do what you did and stay on air for 16 hours. Well done to you and Mil Buecas from Ecuador, listener. I can tell you that we did indeed do the guts of 16 hours on Sunday. We did 16 hours on Saturday as well, actually. I think I calculated we did 35 hours between the 2 days. Finally, before we go for a break, caller says, I'm delighted to see that we're getting a real representative opposition in this country with the rise of Social Democrats and Labour. I hope they stay out of government. Sinn Féin are a hollow party. Mary Lou will never lead this country. Sinn Féin's chance has gone. Great to see Charles Ward elected despite Sinn Féin and company's attempts to hinder him. I saw no evidence that Sinn Féin were trying to hinder Charles Ward. But, I mean, that's your perspective, caller. Now, it's 9 till noon on Highland Radio. It's 11 minutes to 12. We're going to take a short break. Back after these.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Call of the Wild, Donegal's newest outdoor store, is now open on Main Street, Letterkenny, with the best quality winter jackets, footwear and everything else you'll need to get outdoors, whatever the weather. Also, a great place to find the perfect Christmas gift. Shop now and you could win back the cost of your purchase. Call of the Wild on Main Street, Letterkenny. Also in Sligo and Westport. See callofthewild.ie.
Christmas is the season of giving, but it can be difficult to know who on your list wants what. Save yourself the guesswork by giving the gift of choice. Whether you're buying for the foodie, fashionista or homebird of the family, they'll love a Dunstores gift card. They can choose from everything we have in-store and online, from fashion to homewares to groceries. Give the gift of choice, perfect for everyone. Visit dunstores.com for details. However you do your Christmas shop, make Christmas for everyone at Dunnes Stores. Terms and conditions apply.
This December, Irwin Expert Electrical is your go-to for Christmas gifting. Find all the top brands: Apple, Samsung, Fitbit, Dyson, Ninja, Shark, LG and so much more, all at great prices. Looking for the perfect present? We've got it. And with our handy Christmas club, you can shop now and collect your gifts just in time for Christmas week. Irwin Expert Electrical, Letterkenny and Buncrana, making Christmas gifting easy this year.
Enhanced TFI Local Link Route 953. Greencastle to Letterkenny now operates 8 daily return services Monday to Friday, 7 daily return services on Saturday and 6 daily return services on Sunday. Route 953 provides peak time and evening services, connectivity to ATU Donegal and regional bus services. We're Transport for Ireland. We're Transport for you. See locallinkdsl.ie for more. Brought to you as part of the Connecting Ireland Rural Mobility Plan.
Unwrap stylish gifts this Christmas at Evolve Clothing Letterkenny Retail Park. Top brands like Jack Jones, Diesel, Vans and more. Join our layaway club. Shop in store or at evolveclothing.com for festive fashion and joy.
It's the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. We're joined on the line by Roisin, who has befriended a Kurdish family currently living in Letterkenny, but it's a family with special needs. Roisin, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Donal. How are you?
Very well indeed. Roisin, this family, they have 2 young lads in wheelchairs, and that puts them in a vulnerable position.
Absolutely. So that I befriended them through the international platform, through a little English group that we do. Siobhan is 19 and he has muscular dystrophy. His brother, Bawan, is 22 and he has muscular dystrophy and special needs. And back last summer, they wanted to go to Waterford because they have a Kurdish community there and they invited them down for a holiday. And it was absolutely chaotic, shall we say the least of it. At that stage, they just had normal wheelchairs. And in order to get them on the bus, first of all, you have to book 2 days in advance. And we couldn't get that done. So the father in the family had to literally carry the boys onto the bus on his back, trail them up the steps of the bus to travel to Dublin. And people are under the idea that, that these people have free travel. It costs €200 for the trip to Dublin. I got some sponsorship, and because these people only get the basic €38 a week. And then when we got to Dublin to Bus Aras, they were getting a connection into Waterford, and we were very, very fortunate. We met an absolutely lovely bus driver, and the people on the bus that were already seated on the bus going to Waterford got up and moved back a few seats to let these people sit on the front, because obviously the father wouldn't want to be trailing them down the bus.
Yeah.
And we were told that the machine was broken for payment, so that they travelled to Waterford. And back there recently, again, the same thing happened. We had to go to Dublin. And again, because now they have electric wheelchairs, and we weren't able to get the bus booked. So it was just the old wheelchairs. And again, we couldn't travel on the one bus because we hadn't booked it. And the father and the son went on the first bus, and then we went on the second bus. Siobhan wanted to go to meet somebody from iPass. And unfortunately, iPass don't deal with face-to-face callers. They only deal with emails. So that was our experience.
Yeah.
And it's, Siobhan is 19, and I think we actually met you, Donal, down the street.
You did. I spoke to yourself and Siobhan just over two weeks ago.
That's right.
Awaiting a visitor
Absolutely.
that never came. But we won't say any more about that.
No,
but
exactly.
Yeah,
Well,
we
Siobhan
did
wants to
speak,
meet.
yeah.
Yeah, and Siobhan is he's an absolutely beautiful young man, 19 years of age, and they came to Ireland, and people might react and say, well, what took them to Ireland? And there's none of us that wouldn't travel if we thought we could do something for our children. And at the moment, he's getting no physio. He's, as he said to me, his legs don't work, my arms don't work, but my brain works very well. And he's very determined, and doesn't really probably realise the extent of his, disability. And they would like to move out of Letterkenny, obviously, because there are no Kurdish people living in Letterkenny, and Bewan, who has special needs, is non-verbal, but can, interact, hear what people are talking about. So obviously they would love to hear, to be in their Kurdish community. So that's my experience. And even today, I got a taxi into town there, and coming along the Ballyrain Road, somebody had parked their car on the footpath, on the road.
Yeah.
And sometimes Siobhan comes round to meet me, to the house to see me. And I was just thinking, well, if he were coming round today, there's a car parked on the footpath. So it was completely blocking his access, to the footpath.
Rushing,
so that's
all we can,
Donal.
and it's really sad to hear stories like that. And all we can do really is, I know you're working with various agencies to see what can be done to help the lads. In the meantime, all we can do is offer you and them our best wishes, and hopefully now that this is out in the public domain, something may come of that. But for the moment, Roisin, thank you very much.
They're not entitled either, Donal, to free travel. This idea is out there that everybody gets free travel. They don't get free travel, actually.
Yeah.
So as I said, just that maybe we were a little bit more charitable and more thoughtful. And I know there's loads of people in Ireland, Irish people, that have disabilities, but that's we are so cut off in Donegal. Now, Local Link, we have travelled to Rathmullen on Local Link on numerous occasions, and they are absolutely fantastic. They have great wheelchair accessibility.
And maybe in the short term, the message to Bus Éireann is, look, please make it easier to book in advance and to understand the situation people are in. Roisin, thank you very much indeed. Time's beaten us, I'm afraid.
Thank you, for taking my call. I really do appreciate it. Thanks very much.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roisin. Take care. Bye-bye now. Okay, that's Roisin. Now, before we go, and we're going to be going in just a moment, I want to share with you the winner of the Secret Santa chocolate hamper. The person who deserves the hamper. The hamper hasn't been won yet. That's coming up on Friday. But the nominee is Joanne Doherty. Caller says, every Friday night and Saturday morning, Joanne looks after my father Raymond, who's a vulnerable, disabled, elderly man. Therefore, thanks to Joanne, we get this time off. She does it out of the kindness of her heart to give a break to the full-time carer. She will not accept any payment for doing this. Joanne loves chocolate, and she would certainly deserve this hamper, as she has been doing this for us for years. And that comes... Joanne, from your cousin. So Joanne has been nominated and is today's nominee, and Joanne and the nominator go into the pot, as it were, for the final draw on Friday to see who actually wins that hamper. But a Secret Santa chocolate bar on its way to Joanne. And Joanne, I hope it's the nicest chocolate bar you've ever tasted. 2 minutes to midday. It's time to say goodbye. John Breslin's up next around the Northwest. Thank you to all of our participants on the show, thanks to all of our listeners, and thank you to Shannon and to Caroline and to Barry as well, all of whom helped on the programme this morning, especially Caroline, who as always produced. 9 till noon show back tomorrow again at 12 noon, but for now, have a great day.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering